Chapter 1898, Chapter 1898, Chiao Yu breaks through to Absolute Saint. Chapter 1898, Chiao Yu breaks through to Absolute Saint. Chiao Yu was surprised to hear that. She did not expect that the celestial thearch's sword that Lu Ming had pulled out in the heavenly emperor's city would be of great use here and save them. Chiao Yu, now that I have all the ingredients, why don't we concoct the soul recovery pill here? Lu Ming said. Anyway, the materials had been gathered. Lu Ming wanted to refine the soul recovery pill as soon as possible. Moreover, Luo Xiang's cultivation level had soared and he needed time to consolidate it. He might as well refine the pill here. Anyway, the environment here was more hidden and he was not afraid of being disturbed. That's fine too. Chiao Yu nodded and her eyes were filled with anticipation. She also wanted to know what the memory that had been taken from her was. When a person knew that a part of her memory had been taken away and was blank, she would still think about it and be curious. This would also cause her obsession and affect her cultivation. Lu Ming immediately took out the Dian elixir furnace and recited the refining method of the soul recovery pill in his heart. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he took out the various materials one by one. The soul recovery pill was a very rare and high-level pill. It was also very complicated to refine. It was a slow process that couldn't be rushed. Lu Ming threw the first material into the Dian elixir furnace and began to temper it. When the first material was almost completely tempered, the second material would be put in according to the sequence and the tempering would begin. This would allow the two materials to fuse together in a strange way. Of course, he only started with supplementary ingredients. Luo Xiang and Chiao Yu sat on both sides of Lu Ming, a few miles away from him. They were cultivating and guarding Lu Ming. Time passed day by day. This time, he used half a month to refine the medicine. Clang! Half a month later, Lu Ming opened the lid of the furnace and a pill flew out. I've succeeded. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He stretched out his hand and sucked the pill into his palm. Lu Ming took a closer look. It was really the soul recovery pill. It was exactly the same as what was recorded in the prescription. He spent half a month and finally succeeded in refining it. With a flash, Chiao Yu and Luo Xiang appeared in front of Lu Ming. Chiao Yu looked at the pill in Lu Ming's hand with anticipation. Chiao Yu, the soul recovery pill is a success. Take it. Lu Ming said. All right. Chiao Yu nodded and swallowed the pill without hesitation. She then sat down cross-legged and began to refine it. Let's hope it works. Lu Ming could not help but clench his fists. He was a little nervous. The soul recovery pill might not be able to restore Chiao Yu's memory 100%, and there was a possibility of failure. If he failed, it would be difficult to find the materials for the soul recovery pill again. However, Chiao Yu had been with him all this time, and it was indeed effective. This would also increase the success rate. Lu Ming and Luo Xiang stood at the side and waited. There was a layer of light on Chiao Yu's body, and the laws of yin and yang were circulating non-stop. She was clearly refining an elixir. 3 days later, Chiao Yu opened her eyes. Has it recovered? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Initially, Chiao Yu's eyes were filled with confusion. Slowly, her eyes regained their liveliness. She looked at Lu Ming and suddenly smiled happily. Her body moved and she pounced toward Lu Ming, throwing herself into his arms. Young master, Chiao Yu has remembered you. Young master, you've finally come to look for Chiao Yu. As she spoke, Chiao Yu's tears flowed down her face and drenched Lu Ming's clothes. Chiao Yu, have you recovered your memories? Lu Ming asked. Chiao Yu kissed Lu Ming's body a few times, wiping her tears on his clothes. She then blinked her big eyes at Lu Ming and said, Young master, I've recovered. Previously. Please don't blame Chiao Yu for what happened before. She was referring to Chiao Yu's attitude toward him. When they first met, she even treated Lu Ming as her opponent. don't blame me. Of course, you have to blame him. You have to be punished for treating your young master like this. Lu Ming deliberately pulled a long face. Then how should we punish him? Qiu Yu asked in a low voice. What do you think? Lu Ming chuckled. Qiu Yu suddenly stepped forward and gave Lu Ming a peck on the lips. She then glanced at Luo Xiang, who was beside her. Luo Xiang's eyes immediately darted around and he deliberately looked in other directions as if he could not see anything. This way. Will this work? Qiu Yu's face turned red and her voice became lower and lower. Little girl, I haven't seen you for a long time and you're getting more and more daring. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. However, he was also happy. Qiu Yu's memory had finally recovered. The way she looked at him was exactly the same as 10 years ago. Qiu Yu stuck out her tongue and made a face. Qiu Yua, let's return to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Lu Ming smiled. Young master, I'm afraid we can't go back yet. After I recovered my memory, one felt that my spirit embryo had become bright. It seems that I'm about to break through to the absolute saint realm. If I miss this time. Qiu Yu said softly. He's about to break through. Lu Ming was overjoyed but he was not too surprised. Qiu Yu had already reached the great saint realm in the great perfection for a long time. She had accumulated enough. Now that his memories had been restored, his spirit embryo had become bright, and his thoughts were clear, it was normal for an opportunity to break through to the next level to appear. We don't have anything else to do anyway. Your breakthrough is more important. We'll be waiting for you here. Lu Ming said. An opportunity to break through could only be encountered and not sought. If he missed this opportunity, he did not know when the next one would come. It would be a waste of time. Qiu Yu nodded, then flew forward and started cultivating. Lu Ming and Luo Xiang protected Qiu Yu. Qiu Yu closed her eyes and sank into a deep level of cultivation. She paid no attention to the outside world and focused on breaking through. Saint power surged on her body, and the laws of yin and yang surrounded her. Her aura grew stronger with each day. Just like that, half a month passed. Qiu Yu's aura had reached its peak. Boom! As if something had broken, a powerful aura burst out of Qiu Yu's body and rushed into the sky. Then, Qiu Yu opened her eyes and waved her hand. Large piles of raw gemstones appeared and she started to absorb the raw gemstones' raw qi, as well as the natural qi in the heaven and earth. This process lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, Qiu Yu's aura had reached its peak. The aura of an absolute saint. Qiu Yu was the first to become an absolute saint and reach the lower tier. With the talent of the Autumn Moon King body, her combat strength would definitely increase sharply after she became an absolute saint. Even now, Lu Ming was not fully confident that he could defeat Qiu Yu. After a while, Qiu Yu finished her cultivation, retracted her aura, and stood up. Qiu Yu, congratulations. Lu Ming stepped forward and looked at Qiu Yu, feeling rather emotional. The little girl who had grown up with him had already become an absolute saint. She would be a top genius even in the vast Yuan Mountain. Who could have expected this? It's all thanks to young master. Otherwise, one wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. Qiu Yu smiled. Alright, let's go back. Lu Ming took out the space-breaking shuttle and the three of them entered it. The space-breaking shuttle shot out like lightning and flew towards the nearest teleportation point. Chapter 1899, Chapter 1899, The Great Emperor's Tao Lecture. Chapter 1899, The Great Emperor's Tao Lecture. The Heavenly Emperor City was always so prosperous. As the #1 holy land of the Yuan Mountain, it had gathered countless strong cultivators. On the other hand, the platform where the Celestial Emperor's sword was located had lost its former liveliness. Ever since the Celestial Emperor's sword was pulled out by Lu Ming, no one was interested in it anymore. A young man stood in the air above the platform. This young man was dressed in snow-white clothes, shoes, and socks. His black hair was loose, and his eyes were as dazzling as two stars. At this moment, the young man was emitting a terrifying aura as he stared at the platform. When did the Celestial Emperor's sword get pulled out? The young man said, his voice cold. Beside the young man, there was an old man with gloomy eyes. About 5 months ago. He replied. Who is it? The young man continued to ask. This person controls the laws of chaos and is a very young Heaven's Pride expert. We've sent people to investigate. He's a Heaven's Pride expert from the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. His name is Lu Ming. The old man replied. The laws of chaos. Lu Ming, how dare you take away my sword from the galaxy? You really don't know what's good for you. The killing intent in the young man's eyes grew stronger. So he was the number 1 genius on the Saint King ranking, the eternal son, Xing Chen. However, that kid is also smart. After taking the Celestial Emperor's sword, he disappeared. We have used various methods to find out that the kid has not been in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy during this period of time. He should have gone out to train. The old man said. Unless he never returns to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, my sword will always be mine. Xing Chen snorted coldly, then turned around and left. In a citadel outside the Heavenly Emperor City, Lu Ming, Qiu Yu, and Luo Xiang stepped out of the teleportation formation. They had to travel for half a month before they reached the nearest teleportation area. Then, they returned to the guard city of the Heavenly Emperor City through the teleportation array. After they got out of the teleportation array, they rose into the air and flew towards Heavenly Emperor City. Not long after, they returned to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Of course, Luo Xiang wasn't a disciple of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, so he was naturally stopped. However, with his talent, he easily passed the test and became a member of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. As soon as he entered the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute, Lu Ming realized that the Sacred Institute was much livelier than before. In the past, many people had been cultivating in seclusion in various cultivation places of the Sacred Institute. But now, it seemed that many people had come out of seclusion. Lu Ming was a little surprised. Not long after, they arrived at the Saint King ranking. The number of people on the Saint King ranking has increased by a lot. Qiu Yu said. Lu Ming nodded. Previously, there were only about 40 people on the Saint King ranking. Now, there were more than 80 people. It was double the number. It was obvious that many people had broken through to the Absolute Saint realm during this period of time. They were improving, and so were others. Therefore, in a competition between geniuses, once one was at a standstill, one would be quickly surpassed by others. So many absolute saints. Luo Xiang's eyes were bright, revealing his battle intent. The 3 of them didn't stay for long. After a glance, they flew back to their residence. When he returned to his residence, he found that everyone was there. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Desolate Li, and the others were all gathered together. You guys didn't go into closed-door cultivation? Lu Ming asked curiously. Lu Ming, you've returned just in time. The Great Emperor will be giving a lecture tomorrow. If you'd returned a day later, you wouldn't have made it. Huang Ling smiled. The Great Emperor's lecture, it seems my luck is not bad. Lu Ming smiled. Lady Qiu Yue. Has she recovered her memory? Huang Ling looked at Qiu Yu with a complicated expression. I was lucky this time. I found the materials one needed and made the soul recovery pill. Qiu Yu's memory has been restored. Lu Ming said. Everyone came forward to congratulate him. After that, Lu Ming introduced Luo Xiang to everyone. Lu Ming, I heard that you pulled out the Celestial Emperor's sword. Is that true? Long Chen suddenly said. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. You have to be careful. Some time ago, The Han family has been sending people to find out about you. I heard that the Han Xing River has already announced that the Celestial Emperor's sword will be his personal sword. Now that the Great Emperor is giving a lecture, many geniuses have come out of seclusion. The Han Xing River has also come out of seclusion. Long Qin said with a frown. You're afraid that the Star River will find trouble with me. It's fine. At most, it'll just put the Celestial Emperor's sword back in and see if he can pull it out. Lu Ming laughed. Good idea, ha ha ha. Desolate Li laughed as well. Some of them were in seclusion, while others were out traveling. They had not seen each other for a long time, so naturally, there were many topics to talk about. Some people even started sparring on the spot, which was quite lively. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next day was the day of the Great Emperor's Tao lecture. 2 months ago, the date for the Tao lecture was set. During this period of time, almost all the geniuses had exited their seclusion. It could be said to be the most lively day in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. Lu Ming and the others flew towards the highest peak in the depths of the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. The Great Emperor's Tao lecture would be held at the peak of this mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there was a piece of flat land. It was very wide and open. On the flat land, there were more than 10,000 futons. At the forefront of the flat land, there was an ordinary-looking old man in a gray robe. He was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. Many people had already taken their seats on the praying mats, but there was no sound at all. Everyone was holding their breath and concentrating. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived and looked at the old man, they felt a chilly in their hearts. The old man looked very ordinary, but the seat he was sitting on was the seat for preaching. The one giving the lecture today was a great emperor. Needless to say, the old man was a great emperor. The Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy was established by 3 great emperors. However, the great emperors were extremely elusive. After everyone joined the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, they had yet to meet the great emperor. Was it finally possible for them to meet one? Lu Ming and the rest held their breath and sat down on some futons at random. Next, more and more geniuses arrived. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt an icy cold aura enveloping him. He turned around and saw a group of paragons approaching. Among them, he saw Luo Pokong, but he wasn't at the forefront. There was another young man in front of him. The man's face was cold and his eyes were shining with a faint sense of pride as he looked at Lu Ming coldly. Young master, that's Luo Tsangqiong. Qiu Yu sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Luo Tsangqiong. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a murderous intent. Kid, Qiu Yu is mine. If you're smart, you'd better get lost. If you don't, you'll die a horrible death. Luo Kangqiang's voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. Of course, he was using voice transmission. With the great sovereign here, no matter how lawless Luo Tsangqiong was, he didn't dare to make a loud noise. Wishful thinking. Lu Ming replied indifferently, revealing a faint look of disdain. Luo Kangqiang's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. He glanced at Qiu Yu and said no more. He stepped forward and walked to the front row of praying mats. Chapter 1900, Enlightenment. Chapter 1900, Enlightenment Buzz. All of a sudden, a white light flashed past, attracting the attention of many. A young man in a snow-white robe flew to the front and sat down. That's the Stellar River. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and took note of this person. He had a feeling that he would have a battle with the Stellar River sooner or later. More and more geniuses arrived. The number of people on the mountain peak continued to increase. In the end, there were close to 10,000 people. However, there were nearly 10,000 people sitting here, but not a single sound was made. No one spoke. On the mountain peak, one could even hear a pin drop. The old man didn't say anything either. He had been resting with his eyes closed. Half an hour passed, and no one came. At this time, the old man opened his eyes. The moment the old man opened his eyes, everyone had an illusion as if they had suddenly arrived in the starry sky of the universe. However, the next moment, this illusion disappeared without a trace. Alright, almost everyone has arrived. If there are still people who haven't arrived, we won't wait any longer. Today, this old man will be the one to preach. The old man spoke in a gentle voice that echoed in everyone's ears. Everyone's spirits lifted. This elder was indeed a great emperor. It was said that the three great emperors who founded the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy were called Skyfire Great Emperor, Huntian Great Emperor, and Wuxiang Great Emperor. Which of the three great emperors was this great emperor? This old man is Wuxiang. From now on, you can just call me Dean Wuxiang. The old man smiled. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. So this was Emperor Formless. This was an existence at the peak of the entire Yuan Mountain, a figure who stood at the peak of all living beings. He had lived for an unknown amount of time. Now, the lecture begins. Emperor Formless' voice resounded, and everyone immediately focused their attention. At this moment, a small bell appeared in Emperor Formless' hand. The small bell flew into the sky and rapidly grew in size. Clang! The small bell trembled and rang. When everyone heard the bell ring, their spirits were instantly lifted. They felt their thoughts become sharper and more focused. What a wonderful bell! Lu Ming realized that the bell's effect was similar to that of the path understanding ancient tree. Then, rays of light emanated from the small bell. When everyone was enveloped by this light, their thoughts seemed to become more focused. This is the Bodhi bell. I've spent several years letting the Bodhi bell absorb years of Bodhi energy. The Bodhi energy and the Bodhi bell can greatly increase the speed and efficiency of your Tao comprehension. Emperor Formless explained. Emperor Notionless is really well prepared for this Tao lecture. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. No wonder almost all the geniuses in the Yuan Mountain region had gathered in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Where else would they be able to enjoy such treatment? The Tao I'm talking about isn't biased toward any particular law, but a great Tao. There are countless nomological laws in the world, but the great Tao is one. Any nomological law can be comprehended from the great Tao. How much you can comprehend depends on your own comprehension ability. Emperor Formless spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, his body seemed to transform. His figure disappeared and transformed into a world. Endless music came from the world, and the light covered everyone. This was the most fundamental great Tao, and it was infinitely mysterious. Lu Ming could not help but recall that when he had participated in the Hunyuan sect's assessment, there had been a stage where he had to comprehend Tao for the abyss. It was very similar to the way the Formless Emperor had preached. They were all great Taos that pointed directly to the source. At this moment, everyone closed their eyes and silently comprehended the Tao. Emperor Formless lectured for 3 days and 3 nights. After 3 days and 3 nights, he stopped. However, no one woke up. They were all in a deep state of enlightenment. Emperor Formless revealed a warm smile and closed his eyes again. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Boom! A powerful aura rose from one of them. This person had actually broken through. Not long after, the man opened his eyes. Ha! I've made a breakthrough in my cultivation. I've broken through from the upper tier of a bright saint to the peak of a bright saint. The man was ecstatic. He had been stuck at the great mastery of the bright saint stage for a long time and had not been able to break through. However, the great emperor's lecture this time had allowed him to break through. Then, he looked around and his expression turned ugly. The others were still comprehending the Tao. He was the first one to wake up. The earlier one woke up, the worse one's comprehension would be, and the less one could comprehend. The youth's excitement from breaking through instantly disappeared without a trace. It was as if a basin of cold water had been poured on his head. Since you've ended your enlightenment, you may leave. A voice rang out in this person's mind. It was the voice of Emperor Notionless. The young man's heart trembled. He quickly stood up and bowed to the great emperor before leaving. However, he didn't go far. He stood in the void and watched from afar. He was very curious as to who would wake up the last among all the heaven's favorites. After this young man, there were many descendants who woke up, and there were also people who broke through their cultivation. The great emperor's Tao lecture, coupled with the Bodhi bell's support, was indeed very effective. However, most of the people breaking through cultivation were in the bright saint realm. The higher the cultivation, the harder it was to break through. It was not so easy to break through to the supreme saint realm, let alone those above the absolute saint realm. On the 20th day, half of the people had already woken up and ended their enlightenment. Everyone had gained something. The longer they spent comprehending the Tao, the greater their gains. Almost all of the people who had finished their enlightenment left the mountain peak and watched from a distance, just like the first youth. Boom! At this time, another person's body erupted with a powerful aura. Some supreme saint geniuses had broken through. After that man, a few supreme saints broke through to the next realm. Of course, great saints were able to break through because they were already at the limit of a certain realm and were about to break through. Therefore, when the great emperor was teaching, they all broke through their limits and entered a higher realm. If he had just broken through to a certain realm, it would have been difficult for him to break through so quickly. A month later, there were less than 1,000 people left. 1.5 months later, there were only about 200 people left. 2 months later, there were only a few dozen people left who were still comprehending Tao. The last few dozen people could be said to be the most talented few dozen people. Most of them had king physiques and could control king path laws. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Huang Li, Qiu Yu, and the others were still comprehending the Tao. The king physique is truly astonishing. He actually managed to comprehend it for 2 months. How much can one gain from comprehending Tao for 2 months? Many people were envious, especially those who finished their enlightenment in a dozen days. They felt that if they had already gained a lot from comprehending the Tao for more than 10 days, then what they had gained from comprehending the Tao for 2 months would definitely be unimaginable. It would definitely be much more than what they had gained. Chapter 1901, Chapter 1901, The Last One. Chapter 1901, The Last One. Boom. Suddenly, a terrifying aura shot up into the sky. One of the young men's saint energy was surging, and his aura was getting stronger. This is breaking through to the absolute saint realm. Someone exclaimed. He had a king body and had broken through to the absolute saint realm. In fact, someone had already broken through to the absolute saint realm before this, but it wasn't the king body. Some people had stayed in the great sage perfection for a long time and accumulated enough. At this time, during the great emperor's Tao lecture, they had some enlightenment and directly broke through. However, this was the first time someone had broken through to the absolute saint realm with a king body. The man took out a large number of raw gemstones and began to absorb the raw energy to improve his cultivation. Breaking through to the absolute saint realm caused a huge commotion, but the remaining people were protected by the emperor's energy. They weren't disturbed at all and could comprehend the Tao in peace. A few days later, the person who had broken through retracted his aura and opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with joy. He had a king physique. Now that he had broken through to the absolute saint realm, his combat power had increased dramatically. He could be considered one of the people who had entered the peak of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. He looked at the remaining people and his face darkened. Out of all the king physiques, he was the first to end his enlightenment. Could it be that his talent and potential were the worst among the king physiques? That was impossible. He found it hard to accept this. He thought that he had ended his enlightenment early because of his breakthrough. I'd like to see who will be the last one to finish the enlightenment. Will it be the galaxy, the Death Blade, or Lu Ming? His gaze swept across the galaxy, the Death Blade, and Lu Ming. Then, he took a step forward and left the place, watching from a distance. From then on, a king physique would wake up every day. The cultivation of these king bodies was very high. Some were absolute saints, some were supreme saints, and the lowest cultivation was peak supreme saint. Many supreme saints with king bodies had broken through to the next realm, but not many absolute saints. Boom! Boom! 2.5 months later, a shocking aura burst out of Long Chen's body. He had also made a breakthrough, from the great perfection of the Supreme Saint to the Absolute Saint realm. On the second day, a powerful aura burst out from Huang Ling's body. She had also begun her breakthrough. They had been in the Great Sage Great Perfection for a long time. They had been cultivating in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. Now, they had finally broken through. The two of them broke through one after another, which made the paragons of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant sect overjoyed. After Huang Ling and Long Chen woke up, Qiu Yu, Luo Xiang, and Huang Li also woke up. Qiu Yu had just broken through to the Absolute Saint realm not long ago, so naturally, she hadn't broken through so quickly. However, she had also gained a lot. Her cultivation was much closer to the Absolute Saint realm, and her superpowers had improved a lot. As for Luo Xiang, due to his lack of accumulation, he didn't break into the Absolute Saint realm, but he had reached the limit of the Great Saint perfection. As for Desolate Li, he had become an Absolute Saint 5 months ago. Although he hadn't broken through yet, he had reached the limit of the lower-tier Absolute Saint realm. He wasn't far from the upper-tier Absolute Saint realm. Everyone's gains were huge. As time passed, the remaining king physiques also woke up one by one. Suddenly, a shocking aura burst out from one of the remaining cultivators. Someone else had broken through. It was Luo Zhangxiong. Ha! My elder brother Luo Zhangxiong has broken through. He has entered the perfected Absolute Saint realm from the Absolute Saint realm. Luo Pokong was ecstatic. He had actually entered the great circle of the Absolute Saint realm. Many people were shocked. Luo Zhangxiong was already very powerful. He was ranked 10th on the Saint King ranking. Of course, the Saint King ranking might not be accurate, but it was still not a small matter. At this moment, his cultivation had broken through and he was undoubtedly even stronger. Qiu Yu, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the others didn't look good. Luo Zhangxiong was destined to be their enemy. If he broke through, it would be disadvantageous to them. Not long after, Luo Zhangxiong finished his breakthrough and woke up. Humph. After Luo Zhangxiong woke up, he looked at Lu Ming, who was still comprehending Tao, and snorted coldly. A cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. He wanted to take this opportunity to kill Lu Ming, but he didn't dare to make a move when he saw Emperor Formless sitting there. If he offended a great emperor, even his grandfather wouldn't be able to protect him. It won't be too late to kill you after you wake up. Luo Zhangxiong murmured and then left the place to watch from a distance. 3 months later, there were only 3 people who were still comprehending Tao. Galaxy, Death Blade, and Lu Ming. As expected, the 3 of them were the last to leave. The Son of God is indeed extraordinary. Someone sighed. It's just that you've been comprehending Tao for a little longer, but that doesn't mean anything. Who can say for sure how high your future achievements will be in the future? A king physique snorted coldly, obviously unconvinced. That's right. Although the sons of heaven are strong, their advantage is not as obvious after they become martial sovereigns. Furthermore, their future achievements may not be higher than that of the body of the king. In history, many body of the king's final achievements have surpassed the sons of heaven. That's right, there are even some who didn't have a king physique but reached the peak and surpassed the son of heaven. The others chimed in. Those standing here were all proud geniuses. How could they easily submit to others? Being ahead now did not mean that he would always be ahead in the future. After becoming a martial supreme, everything would become possible. Another 10 days passed. On this day, Heng Xinghe and the Death Blade both ended their enlightenment at the same time and opened their eyes. The two of them didn't break through because it was rumored that they had just broken through before the great emperor's Tao lecture. The two of them looked at each other with a cold glint in their eyes. Then, they turned to look at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was still in the midst of enlightenment. Death Blade's eyes flickered, and he seemed to be thinking of something. Then, he moved and left. As for Heng Xinghe, his eyes flashed with a sharp light. He had thought that he would be the last one to finish his enlightenment. He had not expected that there would be someone who had persevered longer than him. You are Lu Ming. He. The galaxy sneered, took a step forward, and flew into the sky far away. At the scene, Lu Ming was the only one who was still comprehending Tao. Everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. One didn't expect Lu Ming to last longer than the Stellar River and the Death Blade. It's amazing. Could it be that his talent and potential are higher than the galaxy and the Death Blade? Some people were discussing. Who knows if this person is just putting on an act. In fact, he's already awake, but he's deliberately pretending to still be comprehending Tao. Said Luo Pokong, his eyes filled with jealousy. Are you doubting Emperor Notionless judgment? You're making yourself look stupid by saying this. Qiu Yu looked at Luo Pokong and said sarcastically. In front of Lu Ming, Qiu Yu had completely returned to her old personality, obedient and well-behaved. However, in front of others, he looked completely different, just like before he lost his memory. This might have something to do with Qiu Yu's recent experiences. Luo Pokong was stunned. His face was gloomy, but he could not refute. Emperor Notionless was still there. If Lu Ming had put on an act, how could Emperor Notionless not know? He would have asked him to leave long ago. Chapter 1902, Chapter 1902, Breaking Through to Absolute Saint. Chapter 1902, Breaking Through to Absolute Saint. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be in a universe of stars. He moved about in the universe like lightning. At the same time, he pointed out with his fingers. Huge chaos fingers of tribulation formed and pointed at the stars in the distance. The chaotic finger was bigger than a star. Every time it touched a star, the star would explode like fireworks in the universe. It was a magnificent sight. After a moment, Lu Ming stopped. Primal Chaos Ring, 90% complete. Lu Ming smiled slightly, very satisfied. And NBSP. During this period of time, he had used the Great Emperor's Tao lecture to focus more on the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger. The Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger's level of mastery had increased from 80% to 90%. The higher the level of a sacred art, the more difficult it would be to improve it. The difficulty would continue to double. If he were to cultivate normally, it would take a long time to raise it from 80% to 90%. However, this time, with the help of the Great Emperor's enlightenment, Lu Ming overcame it in one fell swoop. The power of the Finger of Tribulation of Chaos had increased by a large margin. Of course, it would be even more difficult to raise it from 90% to 100% completion. Every increase would require a lot of energy and effort. My cultivation base is about to break through. Lu Ming's heart stirred. His cultivation base had already reached the limit of the Great Sage perfection. He was just short of an opportunity to make a breakthrough. And NBSP, although he had focused on comprehending the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger, his cultivation had also increased, finally reaching the critical point. On the 4th month of his enlightenment, Lu Ming's body burst out with a shocking aura. Lu Ming is about to break through. He's about to reach Absolute Saint. Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming's combat strength was already amazing when he was in the Great Sage Perfection realm. He could suppress Luo Pokong, who was in the initial Absolute Saint realm. How powerful would his combat strength be after he broke through to the Absolute Saint realm? Many people were looking forward to it. Lu Ming is finally going to break through. The eyes of Feng Ling, Qiu Yu, and Long Chen lit up. So what if you've broken through? It's more interesting to kill like this. Luo Zhangxiong sneered, and his killing intent grew stronger. As time passed, the aura on Lu Ming's body grew stronger. He waved his hand and a large number of raw gemstones appeared. The devouring power burst out and these raw gemstones turned into rolling raw gemstones. They were devoured and absorbed by him, turning into saint power. After a few days, Lu Ming's aura was completely retracted. His cultivation had officially entered the absolute saint realm. At this moment, Emperor Formless, who had been sitting cross-legged this entire time, opened his eyes. All right, this time's Tao enlightenment has come to an end. The next Tao lecture will be held 3 years later. At that time, another great emperor will come to give a Tao lecture. With that, Emperor Formless' figure disappeared. No one saw how the emperor's figure disappeared. It was as if he had never been there. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared where Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, and the rest were. He swept his gaze across the room and smiled. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Huang Yuan, congratulations on your breakthrough to the absolute saint realm. He realized that it was not only Huang Ling and Long Chen who had broken through. A few members of the desolate race had also broken through, entering the absolute saint realm. Most of the 9 youths from the desolate race who had followed Lu Ming out were at the perfected great saint realm. Furthermore, they had stayed there for quite some time. This time, with the help of the great emperor's lecture, their cultivation levels had all broken through. Although these people did not have king physiques, the desolate race's combat strength was strong to begin with. Furthermore, they also had high-tier heavenly spiritual bodies, so their combat strength was not weak. This way, they had quite a number of absolute saints on their side. Lu Ming, you've broken through too. One really don't know how strong you are now. Long Chen said with a smile. The others laughed as well. Indeed, Lu Ming's combat power was already so strong when he was a supreme saint. Now that he had broken through to the absolute saint realm, how strong would he be? They were all very curious. Boom! At this time, a terrifying aura enveloped them, causing everyone's expression to change as they looked in one direction. Luo Zhangxiong stepped forward. Your terrifying aura came from Luo Zhangxiong. Behind him, Luo Pokong and the other paragons of the Daoyuo Heaven sect followed. Qiu Yue, come here, come to my side. Luo Zhangxiong looked at Qiu Yu and said. His tone was very domineering, as if he was giving an order. Luo Zhangxiong, you don't have to bother me anymore. I've told you that I have no feelings for you. Qiu Yu said. Come here. Luo Kangqiang's voice became more serious and overbearing. Qiu Yu, let's go. Lu Ming held Qiu Yu's hand and ignored Luo Zhangxiong. Stop right there, Lu Ming. You dare to touch my woman? I'll exterminate your entire family. Luo Kangqiang's voice was like a thunderclap, ringing in Lu Ming's ears. In the surroundings, many heaven's favorites who were about to leave stopped in their tracks and looked over curiously. He had just finished comprehending the Tao, and a conflict was about to erupt? And it was Luo Zhangxiong and Lu Ming. Many people were looking forward to it. Your woman. Hee hee, what a joke. Qiu Yu grew up with me since young, when did she become your woman? And Qiu Yue herself said that she has no feelings for you and told you to stop pestering her. You really are shameless. Lu Ming turned around and looked at Luo Zhangxiong coldly. Do you know who you're talking to? Because of what you said, you will drag your family and friends down with you. They will all die because of you. Luo Zhangxiong said. His eyes were extremely cold as he glanced at Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the others. He did not hide his killing intent at all. Who do you think you are? If you want to kill me, I'll kill you first. Desolate Li shouted, revealing a malevolent killing intent. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He hated it the most when people threatened him with his family. Luo Zhangxiong, let me tell you this. Lu Ming is my young master. One once said that I would serve him for the rest of my life. I have no feelings for you. What's the point of you pestering me? Qiu Yu said. Bitch, shut up. If one say you're mine, you're mine. No one can take you away from me. Do you understand? Luo Zhangqiang shouted coldly. His grandfather was a great emperor, a top expert in the world. Since he was young, he had gotten everything he wanted. Women were the same. Hee hee, what a joke. Qiu Yu doesn't like you, so you used the law of deprivation to deprive her of her memories. What a pity that Qiu Yu still has no feelings for you. Such a laughable and despicable person still has the face to stay in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy and be called a heaven's chosen. What a joke. Lu Ming sneered and his voice spread throughout the entire venue. Many people were enlightened. So that was how it was. Luo Zhangqiang couldn't win Qiu Yu's heart, so he used the law of deprivation to deprive Qiu Yu's memory. It was indeed shameless. So what? Luo Zhangqiang opened his mouth, and his eyes became even colder. It seems that you've recovered your memory, you bitch. 111 strip you of it again. This time, 111 strip you of all your memories. Lu Ming, I'll cripple your cultivation and make you watch Qiu Yu become my woman. Boom. 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 Luo Zhangqiang continued to take steps forward. With each step, the sky would shake violently. Chapter 1903, Chapter 1903, The Great Battle with Luo Zhangqiang. Chapter 1903, The Great Battle with Luo Zhangqiang. Luo Zhangqiang was incomparably overbearing and could not be considered as the heavens. So what if others knew that he had taken Qiu Yu away? He was the great emperor's grandson. Who dared to speak ill of him in front of him? In front of him, all of them still wanted to curry favor with him. And now, he was going to take Qiu Yu's memory again in front of everyone and get her. Luo Zhangqiang stepped toward Lu Ming and Qiu Yu. The sky and earth rumbled. He raised a palm and clenched it in the air. Endless energy between the sky and earth gathered in Luo Kangqiang's palm. No, it couldn't be said that they were all gathered together. They were completely deprived by him. The origin qi of heaven and earth, as well as all kinds of elemental energy in the world, were seized by Luo Zhangqiang. They were compressed together to form a huge palm, which pressed down on Lu Ming and Qiu Yu. At this moment, the laws of yin and yang circulated around Qiu Yu's body. Two curved blades flew out, intending to take Luo Zhangqiang head-on. Qiu Yu, let me do it. Lu Ming's voice rang out as he took a step forward. Light spots lit up on his body. There were more than 200 light spots, and a holy weapon flew out from each light spot. On the way back to the Heavenly Emperor City, Lu Ming cultivated the 10,000 soldiers' art and sealed a large number of holy weapons in his acupuncture points. Among them, there were 18 absolute saint weapons, 108 great saint weapons, and 108 bright saint weapons. In total, there were 234 of them. With so many holy weapons floating around Lu Ming, he stepped on them and walked forward. He casually picked up an absolute holy sword, and the qi of the holy weapon gathered. He slashed out, and a vast sword qi cut through the void, cutting Luo Kangqiang's big hand in half. Let's see how many moves you can block. Luo Zhangqiang shouted and waved his hands continuously. The law of deprivation was activated and deprived the energy between heaven and earth. It formed a terrifying attack and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming stood in the middle of the holy weapon and walked on it. His combat sword kept slashing out, breaking the other party's attacks. The attacks of the two were extremely violent and powerful. The surrounding people were forced to retreat. Qiu Yu stood behind Lu Ming, her two curved daggers dancing in the air. She did not retreat at all. If the situation changed, she would not hesitate to take action. Back in the Blazing Sun Empire, she was weak and could not help Lu Ming. Now that she had the ability, she would stay by Lu Ming's side and protect him. The cry of a phoenix was heard. Huang Ling was bathed in the unperishable flame. She stepped forward and stood beside Qiu Yu. Qiu Yu looked at Huang Ling and smiled kindly. Huang Ling was stunned for a moment, but she returned the smile. After that, Long Chen and Desolate Li both stepped forward. Lu Ming and Luo Zhangqiang have started a war. Who do you think will win? It's hard to say. Lu Ming has just broken through to the Absolute Saint realm, but Luo Kangqiang's cultivation has already reached the complete Absolute Saint realm. Although Lu Ming was able to suppress Luo Pokong, who was in the initial Absolute Saint realm, when he was only a great saint, and his combat strength was amazing, Luo Zhangqiang is not Luo Pokong. That's right. Even the king body has different strengths. Luo Kangqiang's combat power is extremely terrifying, and his law of deprivation is extremely powerful. Even if it's not as powerful as the 10 strongest laws, it's still one of the top few among the King Path laws. The Son of Chaos cannot be measured with common sense. This battle is hard to say. The surrounding spectators were all guessing who would win, but no one could say for sure. Some people thought that Luo Zhangqiang was stronger. After all, Luo Kangqiang's cultivation was 2 levels higher, and the law of deprivation was very terrifying. His combat strength must be above Lu Ming's. However, some people deduced that Lu Ming might not be weaker than Luo Zhangqiang based on his previous battle results. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of moves, and neither of them had a clear winner. The Blade of Deprivation. Luo Zhangqiang did not continue to deprive the energy between heaven and earth. Instead, he formed a huge saber with the law of deprivation and slashed it at Lu Ming. Go! With a single thought, Lu Ming gathered the holy weapons together. The chi of combat weapons burst forth and blasted toward Luo Zhangqiang. However, when it collided with Luo Kangqiang's saber, his expression changed slightly. This was because he felt that there was a terrifying power of deprivation in Luo Kangqiang's saber. It was going to deprive the combat weapon chi, and even the spiritual consciousness attached to Lu Ming's holy weapon. Even the spirituality of the holy weapon itself was going to be deprived and turned into scrap iron. After taking away the energy from Lu Ming's saint weapon, Luo Kangqiang's saber was much more powerful. With a shake, all the saint weapons were knocked back. Whoosh! 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 More than 200 holy weapons gathered behind Lu Ming, forming a pair of huge wings. The chi of the holy weapons gathered on the combat sword in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming took a step in the air and charged at Luo Zhangqiang, his sword slashing out. Boom! The combat sword collided with Luo Kangqiang's combat blade. Strip him of his power. Luo Zhangqiang operated the law of deprivation, trying to deprive Lu Ming of his power of law and even his saint energy. However, the next moment, Luo Kangqiang's expression changed drastically. His body trembled and he couldn't help but retreat several thousand meters in the void. Can you take away the laws of chaos? Lu Ming said coldly as he continued to charge at Luo Zhangqiang. Just now, he had covered the sword with a layer of chaotic law. The chaos law was one of the 10 supreme laws. Although the law of deprivation was domineering, it could not deprive the chaos law. The blade of deprivation. Luo Kangqiang's face was gloomy. He waved his hands and kept forming 9 sabers. They rushed toward Lu Ming from different directions. Lu Ming simply put away all his holy weapons and used the prison-suppressing heaven technique to resist. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw 9 punches in a row and the 9 shadows of the prison-suppressing steels appeared, clashing with the 9 blades of deprivation. Strip! Strip! Luo Zhangqiang shouted and wanted to strip Lu Ming of his saint energy. However, the prison-suppressing heavenly technique was reinforced by the laws of chaos and he could not strip it away. Moreover, the power of the prison-suppressing heavenly art was very strange. Lu Ming had a feeling that even without the chaos law, the other party would not be able to strip the power of the prison-suppressing heavenly art. The prison-suppressing steel's shadow suppressed the heaven and earth, knocking Luo Kangqiang's 9 blades of deprivation away. Luo Kangqiang's nomological laws have been restrained, the law of chaos is the king of all laws. The law of deprivation can't affect it at all. The advantage of the law of deprivation can't be exerted at all. Luo Zhangqiang is in danger in this battle. Some people were discussing and expressing their opinions. Luo Kangqiang's law of deprivation was extremely overbearing. It could deprive everything, even other laws. An ordinary king body would be restricted by Luo Kangqiang's deprivation law. However, against Lu Ming, Luo Kangqiang's law of deprivation could not exert its advantage at all. If I can't take it away from you, then I'll use absolute power to crush you and take away your divine seal. Luo Zhangqiang waved his hand, and the 9 blades of deprivation collapsed. Then, Luo Zhangqiang formed a seal with his palm and turned it into a big seal. This huge seal was pitch black, and when it appeared in the sky, endless heaven and earth energy poured into it. The huge seal emitted a terrifying aura. Chapter 1904, Chapter 1904, Where do you get your confidence from? Chapter 1904, Where do you get your confidence from? The divine seal of deprivation was Luo Kangqiang's superpower. It could deprive all the energy in the world, even the power of other laws. It could be gathered together to form a terrible attack. All the energy around the deprivation divine seal seemed to have been deprived, forming an empty space. Zzzzzzzzz. Various types of energy gathered on the divine seal of deprivation. With an ear-piercing sound, it turned into the size of a mountain and blasted toward Lu Ming. Die! Luo Zhangqiang shouted with a thick killing intent. Since he could not take away Lu Ming's chaos laws, he would use absolute power to suppress Lu Ming. His sacred art had already reached 90% maturity, and its might was terrifying. Furthermore, it was a magical power formed by stripping laws, and its power far exceeded ordinary laws. He was very confident in his sacred art. At his age, it was rare to be able to cultivate a sacred art to 90%. So what if Lu Ming's chaos laws were powerful? Under the situation where the mastery of the divine power was far lower than his, he would still be crushed. What a terrifying superpower technique. I'm afraid Luo Zhangqiang has already cultivated it to 90%. To be able to cultivate a technique to 90% completion at such a young age, he's truly a peerless genius. His rank as 10th on the Saint King rankings is well deserved. As soon as Luo Zhangqiang used his superpower, many Heaven's Pride experts were shocked. More people looked serious as they felt the powerful pressure. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming's expression did not change. The laws of chaos burst forth and he pointed his finger. A finger, incomparably huge and surrounded by the color of chaos, struck at the divine seal of deprivation. Boom! And NBSP, the divine seal of deprivation and the chaos finger of tribulation clashed in the air, creating a massive shockwave. And NBSP hoo-hoo. The terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators couldn't even stand still and were forced to retreat. The divine seal of deprivation and the chaotic finger of tribulation were locked in a stalemate. Strip! Luo Zhangqiang let out a long roar and circulated all the power in his body. The law of deprivation burst out crazily. It deprived the energy of heaven and earth and strengthened the power of the divine seal of deprivation. Luo Zhangqiang, is this all your power? You're nothing more than this. Lu Ming sneered. The laws of chaos circulated wildly, tangling with the saint energy and surging toward the chaos finger of tribulation. Boom! And NBSP, the primal chaos tribulation finger trembled, its power growing even stronger. The terrifying power caused the divine seal of deprivation to tremble. Luo Kangqiang's expression changed drastically. He felt that the divine seal of deprivation could not hold on any longer. How was this possible? His divine seal of deprivation had already reached 90% completion. Furthermore, it was a divine ability condensed from the law of deprivation. How could Lu Ming's divine ability be stronger than his? Lu Ming had just made a breakthrough to the Saint realm and he was cultivating the chaos laws. How could he be as good as him in terms of the mastery of superpower? Not only him, but the people around him also found it hard to believe. Luo Kangqiang's superpower technique was so terrifying, but in the confrontation of superpower technique, Luo Zhangqiang was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming's power was beyond everyone's imagination. Luo Zhangqiang, I really can't figure out where your confidence comes from. With your strength, you're still acting so high and mighty. Lu Ming continued, and the power of the chaos finger of tribulation erupted. Kacha! Bang! The divine seal of deprivation cracked and exploded with a bang. Luo Zhangqiang groaned and retreated madly, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Although Luo Kangqiang's superpower had reached 90%, Lu Ming's chaotic finger of tribulation had also reached 90%. For magical powers of the same level, unless they were also in the top 10 nomological laws, they were invincible. Many people were shocked. Luo Zhangqiang was injured and he was no match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped on the air and approached Luo Zhangqiang. His voice continued, "Didn't you want to cripple me? Come on, this bit of strength is not enough." Having said that, Lu Ming pointed his finger again. A chaotic finger of tribulation shot toward Luo Zhangqiang. Luo Kangqiang's face turned ghastly pale. He roared and launched the divine seal of deprivation again. However, he was injured and it was even more difficult for him to resist Lu Ming's attack. In an instant, the divine seal of deprivation was destroyed. Under the attack of the chaotic finger of tribulation, Luo Zhangqiang screamed in pain and was sent flying more than 10,000 meters away. He vomited blood. His injuries were even more serious. Not far away, Luo Pokong and the other talents of the Daluo Heaven sect were pale. Even Luo Zhangqiang was no match for Lu Ming. They wanted to help but did not dare to step forward. They were afraid that they would be crushed by Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming did not stop. He stepped on the void and walked toward Luo Zhangqiang. Lu Ming, it'll make you die without a burial place sooner or later. I mean what I say. Luo Zhangqiang roared. His eyes were filled with crazy killing intent. Rely on you, or rely on the power behind you. That's right, trash like you can only rely on the power behind you. Lu Ming sneered, full of sarcasm. In other words, Luo Zhangqiang was no match for Lu Ming with his own strength. He had to rely on the power behind him. Also, you've forgotten one thing. Now that the power behind you is no longer here, I have the advantage. You shouldn't have threatened me. Lu Ming said coldly. He did not hide his killing intent at all. He took a step forward and flew towards Luo Zhangqiang like lightning. Kill, die. Lu Ming shouted and activated his divine sword technique. Two pitch-black sword lights shot out from his eyes and rushed toward Luo Zhangqiang. At the same time, he pointed with his right hand. The terrifying finger of primal chaos tribulation crushed toward Luo Zhangqiang. Lu Ming is going to kill Luo Zhangqiang, how audacious. He's simply lawless. Many people gasped. No killing was allowed in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. This was the rule set by the great emperor. But now, Lu Ming's killing intent was unconcealed. His eyes were cold and he showed no mercy. He clearly wanted to kill Luo Zhangqiang. Luo Zhangqiang was said to be lawless and reckless, but he did not dare to disobey the orders of the great emperor. However, Lu Ming wanted to kill Luo Zhangqiang in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. This was the real lawless. You dare! Luo Zhangqiang bellowed. He did not expect that Lu Ming would dare to kill him here. He fought back but was undoubtedly sent flying by Lu Ming once again. Half of his body was almost shattered. His aura was weak and he was severely injured. Die, die! Lu Ming shouted coldly and launched another finger of tribulation. Luo Kangqiang's eyes finally revealed a look of fear. Lu Ming had gone mad. He actually wanted to kill him. Was he not afraid of being punished by the great emperor? He wanted to die together with him. He retreated frantically, but he could not escape Lu Ming's lock. The terrifying aura of the finger of calamity of chaos enveloped him firmly. No, help! Luo Zhangxiong roared in fear. He was completely different from his previous arrogant look. Whoosh! At that moment, a palm print cut through the sky and crashed toward Lu Ming's finger of tribulation at an alarming speed. With a boom, the chaos finger of tribulation exploded and the remaining power of the palm print continued to blast toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and punched out with all his might. Chapter 1905, Chapter 1905, The Star River Takes Action. Chapter 1905, The Star River Takes Action. Lu Ming cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and punched with all his might. The illusionary image of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and blocked in front of him. However, when the palm print came, the prison-suppressing steel's shadow exploded. Lu Ming's body was sent flying back tens of thousands of meters before he stopped in the air, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. A young man with snow-white skin and long black hair came to Luo Zhangxiong. The Star River. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Many people were shocked. It was Heng Xinghe, the number one on the Saint King ranking, who had sent Lu Ming flying and injured him with one move. Was he going to make a move against Lu Ming? Brother Heng, Luo Zhangxiong was overjoyed. At the same time, he stuffed pills into his mouth and started to heal his wounds. You want to interfere? Lu Ming stared at the galaxy. Luo Zhangxiong is the great emperor's grandson, how can he be humiliated by you? Said the Hengxing River. Lu Ming sneered. According to the eternal Star River, could it be that the grandson of the great emperor could bully others and others could not resist or suppress him? It was laughable. At that moment, Xing Chen continued, furthermore, I'm looking for you for another reason. You were the one who pulled out the celestial emperor's sword, right? That belongs to the Heng family. Now, hand it over to me. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. As expected, the galaxy had taken action because of this matter. The hearts of the surrounding paragons trembled. It turned out that the true purpose of the Xingxing River's attack was to obtain the celestial emperor's sword. Saving Luo Zhangxiong was just a passing act. The news that Lu Ming had pulled out the celestial thearch's sword had long caused an uproar in the heavenly emperor city. Now that Lu Ming had returned, the Heng family was indeed looking for him. How should Lu Ming face it? Should he hand it over or not? Everyone's gaze was on Lu Ming. Legend has it that the sword was left behind by the heavenly emperor. However, it's only a legend and might not be true. You said that the sword belongs to the Heng family, but do you have any evidence? Perhaps it was left behind by some other unparalleled expert. Lu Ming responded. Although it was said that the sword was the heavenly emperor's sword and was left behind by the heavenly emperor who founded Heavenly Emperor City, it was only a legend. Could the Heng family produce any evidence? Xinghe placed his hands behind his back and a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Everyone in Heavenly Emperor City knows that the sword was left behind by the heavenly emperor, and the Heng family is the descendant of the heavenly emperor. Why do we need to prove this? Since you are the descendant of the celestial emperor, why can't you pull out that sword? Lu Ming's voice was sonorous and powerful, spreading throughout the entire venue. Xing Chen's face darkened instantly. Lu Ming was mocking him for not being able to pull out the celestial emperor's sword. I will pull out the celestial emperor's sword sooner or later. Xing he said coldly. He, could it be that drawing the sword is related to cultivation? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Many people's eyes flickered. Lu Ming was mocking the galaxy. Everyone knew that pulling out the celestial emperor's sword had nothing to do with one's cultivation. There was once a martial emperor who could not even pull it out by 1 foot, but there was someone who had just started cultivating who could pull it out 5 feet. He had once pulled the sword out of the stellar river by 9 feet, but he would probably only be able to pull it out by 9 feet in his entire life. The chances of pulling it out would not increase with the improvement of his cultivation. Yet, the galaxy said that he would pull it out sooner or later. Lu Ming's rhetorical question was clearly mocking the galaxy. Xing's expression turned even uglier. The light in his eyes became even sharper, like 2 divine swords. Besides, even if that sword was really left behind by the Celestial Emperor, and the Heng family is the descendant of the Celestial Emperor, why didn't the Celestial Emperor leave the sword to the Heng family? Instead, he stuck it on the platform and sealed it for thousands of years. It's obvious that the Celestial Emperor wants to find someone who can pull out the sword. Only the person who can pull out the sword is qualified to hold the sword. This is what the Celestial Emperor wants. If the Heng family is really the descendant of the Heavenly Emperor, you should respect the Heavenly Emperor's will and not go against the will of your ancestors. Lu Ming continued to speak. His sonorous and powerful voice made many people look thoughtful. That's right. If that sword was really left behind by the Celestial Emperor, why didn't he just leave it to the Heng family? Instead, he stuck it on the platform and let others pull it out. In other words, only the one who pulled it out had the right to wield the Celestial Emperor's sword. This was the true meaning of the Celestial Emperor. You've got a glib tongue and you're twisting the truth. Lu Ming, one didn't want to bully you with your cultivation base. But since you're asking for death today, I'll fulfill your wish. The galaxy shouted and took a step forward. Boom! A terrifying aura bloomed from his body. A mysterious and terrifying law surrounded his body. It was one of the 10 ultimate maxims, the eternal maxim. Eternal, eternal, eternal. The eternal law was similar to Huang Ling's law of unperishable flame, but its power was much stronger than the unperishable flame. The eternal law not only gave the user an extremely strong life force, but it also had terrifying offensive power. Boom! Xingxing River took a step forward and approached Lu Ming rapidly. Then, he struck out with his palm and a palm print blasted toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils constricted and he felt a terrifying pressure. Xing Chen's cultivation was too strong, and the power of his palm had the power to destroy the world. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming let out a long roar and circulated his cultivation to the extreme. He then pointed out a Chaos Tribulation finger that was at 90% maturity. At the same time, his body lit up with spots of light. More than 200 holy weapons flew out and hovered around Lu Ming, forming a defensive force. Boom! And NBSP, the primal chaos finger of tribulation, collided with the palm print of the Star River. Bang! The 90% completed finger of tribulation of chaos did not even manage to block a few attacks before it exploded. The terrifying power surged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming continued to punch out, and at the same time, more than 200 saint weapons blocked in front of him. However, when the palm print came, Lu Ming's body trembled. The 200 saint weapons buzzed, and his body was sent flying far away. Lu Ming was no match for the Hengxing River. The difference in their cultivation levels was too great. They are both children of God, but Xing Chen's cultivation level is much higher. Lu Ming is no match for him at all. That's natural. As children of God, they usually fight at the same level. If there's a difference in cultivation, there's no point in fighting. I'm afraid Lu Ming won't be able to keep the Celestial Emperor's sword today. Some people in the surrounding side. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, Xing Chen was the Eternal Sun. His combat strength was not weak either. With a much higher cultivation, Lu Ming was no match for him. Lu Ming, hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword and I'll spare your life. With his hands behind his back, the Star River stepped toward Lu Ming with an invincible aura. Boom! The Star River took a step forward. A huge foot descended from the sky and stomped toward Lu Ming. Don't even think about hurting the young master. Chiu Yu. A voice sounded and a figure rushed into the sky. It was Chiu Yu. At this moment, Chiu Yu's glabella glowed, and the monarch weapon, the yin-yang wheel, appeared and struck at the giant foot. At the same time, a phoenix's cry was heard. Huang Ling also rushed into the sky. She was bathed in the unperishable flame, almost turning into a phoenix. At the same time, a pair of phoenix wings flapped out from her back and attacked the giant foot. Chapter 1906, Chapter 1906, Six Princes and One Son versus the Eternal. Chapter 1906, Six Princes and One Son versus the Eternal. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect Chiu Yu and Feng Ling to suddenly rush out. With Chiu Yu and Feng Ling's combat strength, even with monarch weapons, they were no match for the Star River. As expected, Chiu Yu and Feng Ling's bodies trembled as the giant foot landed. They groaned and flew back, landing beside Lu Ming. Their faces were pale and blood was flowing out of their mouths. Chiu Yu, Feng Ling, are you guys alright? Lu Ming asked worriedly. Young master, it's fine. One want to fight alongside you. Chiu Yu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She stood beside Lu Ming with a determined look in her eyes. On the other side, Huang Ling didn't speak, but the imperishable flame on her body burned even more fiercely. Hee, how can you stop me with just two girls? Xing Qin sneered and continued to walk forward. The aura on his body became more and more terrifying. I'm the one who's cursing. A burly figure appeared beside Huang Ling. It was desolate power. The muscles on his body bulged as he circulated his laws. He wore a pair of pitch-black gloves on his hands, which were also sovereign weapons. Buzz! Another figure flashed by. Long Chen appeared beside Chiu Yu. His arms were bulging, and his aura was terrifying. Chiu Yu, Feng Ling, Long Chen, Huang Li, and Lu Ming, four king physiques and one son of chaos stood side by side. All of them were at the initial success stage of the Absolute Saint realm. Their auras combined to resist the aura of the Eternal Star River. Add us in. Behind them, the other elites of the Desolate race, as well as Mu Qingxue and company, also wanted to step forward. Don't come up. Lu Ming waved his hand and asked the Desolate Land and the rest to stop. When facing an opponent like the Stellar River, numbers did not mean anything. If one's combat power was insufficient, it would be useless no matter how many people they had. You want to bully me with your numbers? Do you think we don't have people? Another genius of the Hung family shouted and stepped forward. The other geniuses of the Hung family also followed. All of you, back off. You don't need to interfere in this matter. Xing Chen waved his hand and said to the other geniuses of the Hung family. He was a proud person. With his cultivation, he did nor need the help of others to deal with Lu Ming and the others. Il's gaze swept across Lu Ming's group of 5 and he said indifferently, you think that you can contend with me with just the 5 of you? How naive. Around them, the others also sighed. The lineup of Lu Ming's team could be said to be luxurious. The 4 king bodies and the son of chaos had all reached the Absolute Saint realm. However, they were facing the Eternal Sun, Heng Xinghe, who was ranked first on the Saint King rankings. No one had any objections. He was publicly acknowledged as the strongest expert of the younger generation in Yuan Mountain. Even the Death Blade, the son of death, was unable to shake the position of the galaxy. Although Lu Ming's team of 5 was grand, their cultivation was weaker. Could they really fight against the Eternal Star River? What if him included? At this time, a deep voice rang out. A tall and slender figure stepped out from the crowd. It's Ouyang Wushuang. Someone recognized the person. Ouyang Wushuang came to Lu Ming's side and a powerful aura burst out from his body. Absolute Saint. Obviously, Ouyang Wushuang had also reached the Absolute Saint realm. Then let's add little sister. At this time, another voice sounded. A graceful figure stepped through the void and landed beside Lu Ming and the rest. Luo Tianyi. Ouyang Wushuang and Luo Tianyi both helped Lu Ming. Are they familiar with him? 6 king physiques and 1 son of chaos. This lineup is truly astonishing. Many people gasped and found it hard to calm down. Luo Tianyi and Ouyang Wushuang were actually familiar with Lu Ming. They attacked at this time and wanted to fight against the Star River with Lu Ming and the others. Very good, very good. Then I'll see how strong you are. Xing Chen's eyes were filled with battle intent. He took a step forward and the void space under his feet trembled. Heavenly illusion. Luo Tianyi shouted. Her eyes turned into 2 black vortexes. She cast the sky illusion technique and enveloped the Eternal Star River, trying to make the Eternal Star River fall into an illusion. At this time, Luo Tianyi's cultivation was revealed. She had reached the Absolute Saint Realm and seemed to have reached the limit of the Absolute Saint Realm. She was not far from the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. As expected, Xing's body trembled slightly, and he stopped. The moment Luo Tianyi made her move, Lu Ming, Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, Huang Li, Long Chen, and Ouyang Wushuang also made their moves. 6 terrifying superpowers exploded at the same time and blasted towards the Star River. The shockwaves created by the 6 of them were earth-shaking and shook people's minds. A mere illusion can't stop me. Break! Xing Chen's indifferent voice rang out. His eyes were as bright as the stars. 2 terrifying sword lights burst out from his eyes and slashed at the void. Luo Tianyi cried out. Her body trembled and she retreated. Her face turned pale and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her illusion had been broken by the galaxy and suffered a backlash, causing her to be injured. At the same time, a sword light condensed in Xing Chen's hand and he slashed out. Buzz! This sword radiance was like a fairy from beyond the heavens. It cut through the void and turned into eternity. It was unparalleled and breathtaking. Boom! 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 The sword radiance slashed across and the attacks of Lu Ming and the other 5 were all shattered in the air. Not good, retreat! Lu Ming shouted. The 6 of them retreated rapidly to avoid the aftermath of the sword light. So strong. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn. The combat power of the galaxy was indeed terrifying and unrivaled. The main reason was that their cultivation level was too low, far inferior to that of the Eternal Star River. What's the use of having so many people? The galaxy's palm clenched into a fist and the eternal law condensed into a sword beam, pressing toward Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the Tai Chi formation disc floated out. Qiu Yu and the others also took out their monarch weapons Chaos Finger. This time, Lu Ming took the lead in attacking. He used all his might to launch a chaotic finger of tribulation. At the same time, he moved and rushed toward the galaxy at top speed. Countless runes filled his left hand and formed a sealing force that spread toward the galaxy. At the same time, the Tai Chi Yin and Yang pattern appeared on the Tai Chi formation disc and turned into 2 yin-yang fish swords, slashing toward the Star River. The series of attacks was like a storm. Even an ordinary absolute saint in the perfection stage would be killed by Lu Ming's wave of attacks. At the same time as Lu Ming launched his attack, the others also launched their attacks. It's both real and illusionary, die! Luo Tianyi shouted. Butterflies appeared in the sky, flapping their wings and flying toward the Star River. These butterflies were formed by an illusion. They could be real or fake, and their power was astonishing. The attacks of Qiu Yu and the others also headed towards the galaxy. What a terrifying attack! The surrounding geniuses were all shocked. With so many people joining forces, no one else was confident that they could stop them, not even the geniuses who were ranked high on the Saint King ranking. Small tricks. Xing Chen's expression did not change. Lai slashed out the sword gleam in his hand. In an instant, 9 sword gleams slashed toward Lu Ming and the others. 3 of the sword gleams slashed toward Lu Ming. The other 7 people each had 1 Dao. Chapter 1907, Chapter 1907, Chapter 1907, Death Blade Attacks. Chapter 1907, Chapter 1907 Death Blade Attacks and NBSP. The Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger was the first to be cut apart. Then, the Yin-Yang Fish Sword and the sealing power of the Array Dao laws were also broken one by one. Luo Tianyi, Qiu Yu, and the others' attacks were the same. The sword light slashed, and everyone retreated quickly. So strong. The hearts of the surrounding people trembled. The galaxy was too powerful. Even when Lu Ming and the other 7 experts joined forces, they were still no match for it. The cultivation of Xing River is at least at the peak of the Absolute Saint realm. With the eternal body, his combat power is too strong. Long Qin said to the others. That was indeed the case. Their cultivation levels were too much weaker, and they were simply no match for him. He was the eternal sun, an invincible existence at the same level as them. Not to mention, his cultivation base was much higher than theirs. Lu Ming, hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword. You're not qualified to wield it, said Xing Qin coldly. Heng Xinghe, your cultivation level is just slightly higher. If we were to fight at the same level, I would still defeat you. Lu Ming said. Defeat me? Hehe, Lu Ming, let me tell you, even if you have mastered the laws of chaos, you are no match for me in a battle of the same level. However, you don't have to provoke me into fighting you at the same level. Having a high cultivation is also a kind of strength. As Xing River spoke, he stepped forward. A terrifying sword will burst out of his body, piercing through the sky. The sword power spread out in all directions, forming a terrifying pressure. He had overwhelming abilities. Why did he have to fight with Lu Ming at the same level? This kind of goading had no effect on him. Lu Ming, since you don't want to hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword, I'll have to take it myself. Xing Qin said coldly. He raised the sword light in his hand high and his aura became stronger and stronger. However, at this moment, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared on the galaxy and enveloped him. Space-time law. Xing's expression changed and he shouted in anger. Do it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that bubbles had made a move. Moreover, from the fluctuations of the space-time law, it was extremely powerful. Clearly, bubbles had also broken through to the Absolute Saint realm. Once again, Lu Ming and the other 7 joined forces and launched a terrifying attack. Break! A terrifying sword radiance burst forth from the body of the Star River, breaking the transparent bubble in one go. However, the surrounding space kept on rippling and distorting like water waves, trying to trap the Star River in the void. At the same time, the power of time also acted on the galaxy, causing his movements to slow down. Xing's expression finally changed a little. The space-time law was also one of the 10 strongest laws. It had endless changes and was best at trapping enemies. With the space-time law in coordination with Lu Ming and the rest, they would be able to unleash their abilities to a greater extent. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming's group's attack arrived. It looked like the galaxy was about to be drowned in it. Boom! At this moment, an even more powerful and terrifying aura burst out from the body of the Eternal Star River. A terrifying divine light burst out and the space-time law that enveloped his body collapsed instantly. The attacks of Lu Ming and the others were also crushed by the light. It's the eternal light. Also, Xing River's cultivation level is in the great circle of the Absolute Saint stage. Around them, many people shouted. Is this the true cultivation level of the galaxy? Lu Ming and the rest looked extremely solemn. In the battle just now, Xinghe had not used his full strength at all. His cultivation had already reached the perfected Absolute Saint realm. How terrifying was he at this age? As long as his eternal law was perfected and he reached the perfection realm, he would be able to step into the Emperor-to-be realm and start to break through to the martial emperor realm. There were not many people who could reach the martial emperor realm before the age of 50, and they could be compared to the ancient mighty figures. Whoosh! A figure flashed and bubbles appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. That person is so strong. The bubbles can't trap him. Chirp chirp. Very good, you're not bad. You're able to force me to use my full strength. Then, you'll have to suffer my wrath. Xing Chen spoke with a cold voice, revealing a cold killing intent. A real combat sword appeared in his hand. It was a monarch weapon, and its sword chi soared into the sky. At that moment, Xing Chen's cultivation in the great circle of the absolute saint realm was completely unleashed. His aura was truly shocking. It's over. Lu Ming and the rest are finished. Although they are strong, they are no match for the galaxy. Indeed, but Lu Ming's lineup is too terrifying. There's actually someone who has mastered the space-time law. How shocking will they be when they grow up? Will the Eternal Star River kill them and get rid of them here? It's hard to say. Today's scene had far exceeded everyone's expectations, making them so nervous that they found it hard to breathe. In the beginning, Luo Zhangxiong came to find trouble with Lu Ming but was defeated by him. After that, the Xingxing River made their move and the number of experts on Lu Ming's side continued to increase. Up until now, there were already 6 king physiques and 2 sons of God. What kind of luxurious lineup was this? This made many of the powerful heaven's favorites look very serious. If these people's cultivation were to increase, who would be their match? Damn it, I hope the galaxy can kill these people. Luo Zhangxiong was also shocked. He had never expected that there would be so many terrifying geniuses gathered around Lu Ming. Swish! He took a step forward and his figure suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, a terrifying sword light slashed toward Lu Ming and the others. The hearts of Lu Ming and the rest thumped rapidly. They could sense a terrifying danger from the sword light. Let's join hands. Lu Ming shouted. They could only block this attack by gathering all their strength. The Dian elixir furnace flew out from between Lu Ming's eyebrows. In his dantian, the 2 saint hearts were working at full force. Majestic saint power poured into the Dian elixir furnace, making it the size of a mountain. However, just as Lu Ming and the rest were about to go all out and fight, a pitch-black saber light cut through the void in the distance and slashed violently. This blade light was filled with the aura of death, as if it wanted to kill all the living beings in the world. Buzz! The sword light and the saber light collided heavily and exploded. The terrifying sword chi and saber light swept in all directions. Buzz! A figure flashed. It was a young man in a black robe. He stepped forward and appeared in front of the Star River. He was holding a saber in his arms, and his body was filled with a strong aura of death. It's the Death Blade. The Death Blade actually attacked the galaxy. Could it be that the Death Blade is also familiar with Lu Ming and the rest? Many people were shocked to see this young man. The Death Blade, the son of death, had also attacked the galaxy. Death Blade, you're going to help Lu Ming and the rest too? Xing's eyes narrowed slightly, and a sharp glint flashed through them. No, no. The Death Blade shook his head. The reason I attacked was because I didn't like you. These words made many people speechless. The Death Blade attacked because he didn't like the galaxy. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Lu Ming was a gold-tier inheritor of the Hunyuan sect while the Death Blade was a silver-tier inheritor. Naturally, he would not attack just because he did not like the Eternal Star River. Chapter 1908, Chapter 1908, Chapter 1908, Draw. Chapter 1908, Chapter 1908 Draw. However, the Death Blade was a proud man. He was the son of death. He would not admit it. He had to listen to Lu Ming's orders now. Since the Death Blade did not mention it, Lu Ming naturally would not say it either. Death Blade, it's still too early for you to stop me with your current cultivation, said Xingqian coldly. Death Blade's cultivation was at the peak of the Absolute Saint realm, while he was in the perfected Absolute Saint realm. The Death Blade was no match for him. How would we know if we don't fight? The Death Blade said, and the death energy around him became even thicker. If you want to fight, I'll grant you your wish. Xingqian shouted coldly. The eternal divine light became more and more brilliant. The peerless sword radiance was incomparably sharp. It was flickering and could erupt into a terrifying attack at any time. Stellar River, our battle isn't over yet. Lu Ming took a step forward. At this moment, his black hair and eyes turned blood red, and a bone-chilling murderous intent emanated from his body. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have turned into a god of death. This was the power of the third bloodline. It had been a long time since Lu Ming had used the power of the third bloodline. The power of the third bloodline was too strange, and Lu Ming had been using it less and less. But today, he had no choice but to use it. After borrowing the power of the third bloodline, Lu Ming's aura rose sharply. After a few steps, Lu Ming stood side by side with the Death Blade. Attack! Hit this guy! Chirp chirp! Pow Pow mumbled. She strode forward with her small feet and followed Lu Ming. As her figure walked past, the void distorted like water ripples. It was as if her body was not here but in another spacetime. In addition, Qiu Yu, Luo Tianyi, and the others also stepped forward, exuding a shocking aura. Kill! The Blade of Death was the first to attack. The Blade of Death slashed toward the Star River. Wherever the blade light passed, the world became silent. It was deathly still. Boom! Lu Ming was the second to make a move. He lifted the Dian elixir furnace, and a majestic force continuously surged into the furnace, smashing it toward the galaxy. Then, Bubbles, Qiu Yu, and the rest attacked at the same time. The attack this time was truly shocking. Today, I'll let you all understand what it means to be the strongest. The eternal Star River howled and the sword beams kept slashing out. Hundreds of sword beams were slashing toward Lu Ming and the rest. The Death Blade's Blade of Death kept shaking, and more blade lights appeared. He managed to block a small part of the sword light. The Dian elixir furnace in Lu Ming's hand was as huge as a mountain. Every time it fell, a large area of sword radiance was destroyed. Bubbles, Qiu Yu, and the rest worked together to block the remaining sword light. Boom! 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 A terrifying battle erupted. The 10 geniuses fought with all their might. This entire region was filled with terrifying rumbling sounds. The entire Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy was shocked. However, after Lu Ming used his third bloodline and the Death Blade joined in, they could finally fight against the Eternal Star River and not be at a disadvantage. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves, but there was still no clear winner. Xingqian unleashed his terrifying combat strength to the extreme, but he could not do anything to Lu Ming and the rest. The advantage of the galaxy was cultivation. His cultivation was on the higher side. On the other hand, Lu Ming's group had more people. The combination of various different laws was extremely powerful. Swallow! In the midst of the battle, Lu Ming opened the lid of the Dian elixir furnace. A powerful devouring force erupted from the furnace, trying to swallow the Star River. The Eternal Star River howled and eternal divine light burst forth, tearing apart the pill furnace's devouring force. However, the next moment, it was enveloped by the bubble space-time law and its body froze. Whoosh! The Death Blade's Blade of Death slashed over and almost hit the Eternal Star River. He dodged it by a hair's breadth and broke through the attacks of Qiu Yu and the others at the same time. He slashed out a few terrifying sword lights at Qiu Yu, Feng Ling, and the others. However, the bubble space-time law enveloped Qiu Yu and the rest. Their bodies trembled and they dodged the sword radiance of the Xingxing River. Bubble's spacetime law had great support abilities in a battle. Furthermore, its attack power was also very terrifying, making it impossible to guard against. As time passed, the battle became even more intense. On the battlefield, all kinds of dazzling lights burst out, colliding with each other and causing continuous rumbles. After about 100 moves, there was still no clear winner. Boom! Heng Xinghe, Lu Ming, and the Death Blade collided with each other and their bodies flew far away. His face was particularly gloomy. Today's matter seemed to be out of his control. He was only dealing with one Lu Ming, but he was besieged by so many people. Every one of them was a terrifying genius. Lu Ming, I'm telling you, the Heng family is determined to get the Celestial Emperor's sword. You can't protect it with just your people, said Xing Chen coldly. That's right. The Heng family must obtain the Celestial Emperor's sword. As the voice of the Xingxing River faded, another voice rang out from outside the Yuan Mountain's Sacred Academy. Following that, a suffocating pressure spread out from that direction. Then, the crowd saw 3 old men walking in the air. The 3 elders were surrounded by a divine light. Many people's pupils contracted. This was the world god light, which meant that the 3 elders were all true emperor-level experts. The 3 elders stood in the air, surrounded by the world's divine light. They were like 3 gods, and a terrifying pressure constantly spread out. All the geniuses present felt like a mountain was pressing down on them. Elder Xing Chen cupped his fists at the 3 old men. Lu Ming, hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword to us. It's the Celestial Emperor's sword. You're not qualified to control it. The elder in the middle spoke and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt a strong pressure on his body, and he could not help but step back. If the younger one can't do it, then the older one will. This is indeed the style of a great power. Lu Ming spoke with a hint of mockery. That's right. You true emperors want to meddle in the affairs of the younger generation. It's too embarrassing. At this moment, a voice came from the depths of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. As the voice faded, a few figures appeared in the void. These figures were all surrounded by world divine light and were all at the true emperor level. This was a teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Many of the teachers in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy didn't come from any major powers. Most of them were lone wolves or lived in seclusion. In the end, they were invited by the 3 great emperors to become teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy and manage it together. The expressions of the Heng family's true emperors turned ugly. Initially, they had asked the Star River to take the Celestial Emperor's sword from Lu Ming's hands. However, they did not expect that the Star River would not succeed. They had no choice but to step in. They had also thought that the teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy would definitely interfere in this matter. This is the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. You guys can go ahead. A teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy directly asked him to leave. The Celestial Emperor's sword, we must take it away. A true emperor from the Heng clan spoke. The Celestial Emperor's sword was pulled out by Lu Ming, so it naturally belongs to him. You guys don't have the ability to pull it out, but you want to gain something for nothing. Isn't that ridiculous? To think that you guys call yourselves the descendants of the Celestial Emperor. An old man said in disdain, not giving the Heng family any face at all. Chapter 1909, Chapter 1909, The Great Emperor made his move. Chapter 1909, The Great Emperor made his move. The Heng family's true emperors had dark expressions. If it was someone from any other power who dared to speak to them like this, they would have destroyed him. However, the other party was a teacher of the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy, which was founded by 3 great emperors. Although the Heng family was powerful, they did not dare to go against the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. The eyes of the Heng family's true emperors turned and they started to discuss this matter. After a while, a true emperor from the Han clan said, "Lu Ming, you can keep the celestial emperor's sword, but you must hand over the cultivation technique in the sword to the Han family." A sharp glint flashed across Xing Chen's eyes. He had once declared that the celestial thearch's sword would be his personal sword. Now, he was letting Lu Ming stay. This made him very unhappy. The eyes of the teachers from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy flickered. It was obvious that the Han family had given in. They looked at Lu Ming and one of them said, "Lu Ming, what do you think? There's no cultivation technique in the sword. How am one supposed to hand it over?" Lu Ming said. After he pulled out the Celestial Emperor's sword, he did not notice any abnormalities at all. It was just like an ordinary stone sword. It only appeared in the sword tomb of its own accord and saved Lu Ming once. Moreover, it also absorbed a large amount of sword source. "Lu Ming, don't push your luck. The Han family has already given in. If you're too greedy, you'll only be digging your own grave." Xing He shouted coldly. The eyes of the Han family's true emperors also flashed with cold light. In their opinion, they had already given in, but Lu Ming was insatiable and was not even willing to hand over the celestial thearch's sword technique. "Lu Ming, the cultivation technique in the celestial emperor's sword is very important to the Han family," he said. "That's right. Young people should know when to stop. You are very talented. It would be a pity if you die halfway." The few true emperors from the Han family spoke one after another. Their threat was obvious. "I said, there is no cultivation technique in the sword," Lu Ming repeated. "You still dare to deny it?" One of the Han family's true emperors shouted. It was like a thunderclap. The sound of rolling thunder formed a terrifying storm that pressed toward Lu Ming. A teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy frowned. He took a step forward and a wave of power rushed out, destroying the thunderous sound of the other party. "The true emperor has made his move. He's gone too far." The teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy frowned and looked at Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you really didn't get any cultivation technique from the sword?" "No, after one got that sword, there was nothing unusual about it. It was just like an ordinary stone sword," Lu Ming said. "You're lying. There are records in the Han family's ancient books that the Celestial Emperor's sword has cultivation techniques left behind by the Celestial Emperor. How can it not be there?" A true emperor from the Han clan shouted. "It looks like that sword really doesn't belong to the Han family. Or perhaps, the Han family isn't the descendant of the Celestial Emperor at all." Lu Ming sneered. "How dare you insult my Han family? Kill without mercy." The Han clan's true emperor was enraged, and a terrifying aura erupted from him as he stepped forward. The Han family had always been proud of being the descendants of the heavenly emperor. Now that Lu Ming actually said that the Han family was not the descendant of the heavenly emperor, it was the greatest insult to the Han family. If he didn't kill them, it would be hard to establish his prestige. Enough. At this time, an old voice came from the depths of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. This voice was extremely gentle to the geniuses of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. However, to the true emperors of the Han clan, it was like thunder. The Han clan's true emperor's body trembled as he retreated frantically. His expression changed drastically, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Great Emperor!" The Han clan's true emperor said in shock. "It's Emperor Formless." When Lu Ming and the others heard this, they immediately knew that it was the Great Emperor Notionless. When the Great Emperor Notionless had lectured them earlier, they had naturally recognized his voice. This matter had actually drawn the attention of Emperor Formless. "This is the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. You guys can leave." Emperor Formless' voice rang out once more. Although he didn't use any harsh words, it still gave off a supreme dignity and unquestionable authority. The three true emperors from the Han clan had ugly expressions. But this was the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, and since Emperor Wu Xiang had spoken, how could they not retreat? A true emperor might be high and mighty in the eyes of other cultivators, but in front of a great emperor, they were like babies, trembling in fear. Wu Xiang. At this moment, outside the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, an old voice came from an unknown distance. Hearing this voice, the 3 true emperors of the Han clan were overjoyed. They couldn't help but shout, "Forefather!" Many people were shocked. The 3 true emperors of the Han clan addressed him as Old Ancestor, and since he dared to call Emperor Formless by his name, there was only one possibility: he was also a great emperor. There had always been rumors that the Han family had a great emperor. It seemed like it was true. Wu Xiang, the Celestial Emperor's sword, is related to an important legacy technique of the Han family. Are you really going to interfere? Outside the Sacred Institute, the voice rang out again. No matter what the reason is, since this is the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy and Lu Ming is a disciple of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, one will protect him. If it were any other disciple of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, I would do the same. If someone touches the Eternal Star River in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, I will do the same. Emperor Formless' voice was firm and unquestionable. As long as they were in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy and were disciples of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, he would protect them no matter who they were. He. The emperor of the Han family sneered and said, "Wu Xiang, you and one haven't seen each other for many years. I don't know how much progress you've made. Why don't we exchange some pointers?" "That's what I was thinking. One also want to see how much you've improved," Emperor Formless retorted. The hearts of many trembled. The 2 great sovereigns were about to fight. This was a rare event. Boom! Boom! From the direction of the Han family and the depths of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, a terrifying pressure spread out at the same time. Then, 2 rays of light flashed and rushed into the sky. Wherever the light passed, the space would crack open and 2 figures would rush into the void crack. Boom! Then, a terrifying vibration came out of the spatial crack. The entire sky seemed to be shaking crazily. A heavy pressure came from the sky, making people feel that the world was about to collapse and be destroyed. The great emperors were fighting in the void. If the great emperors fought directly in Heavenly Emperor City, the world would be turned upside down. Heavenly Emperor City would suffer a destructive disaster and countless people would be affected. Boom! Boom! In the void, there was a constant rumble, and the space fluctuated like water. Then, a series of ferocious spatial cracks appeared in the void, like a spider web, densely covering the entire void. How terrifying! Many people felt their hearts beat faster and their muscles tighten. They were extremely nervous. It was too terrifying. Even though they were fighting in the void, the scene was still earth-shaking. Everyone had a feeling that a great disaster was coming. A great emperor's little world could give birth to living beings and control great Daos. It was simply too powerful. In front of it, true emperors were as weak as babies. In this era where there were no heavenly emperors, great emperors were the peak existences of the world and no one could defeat them. Every person's appearance would attract the attention of the world. Chapter 1910, Chapter 1910, Chapter 1910, Chaos. Chapter 1910, Chapter 1910 Chaos. The battle between the great emperors didn't last for long. After a few minutes, the fluctuations in the void suddenly stopped. The spatial cracks also disappeared. He stopped. Who won? Was it the great emperor of the Han clan or Emperor Formless? Withdraw from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy and send people to guard the area outside the academy. If Lu Ming goes out, capture him immediately. The voice of the emperor came from the Han family. The Han clan was going to leave the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Many people's eyes flashed. Could it be that the emperor of the Han family had been defeated? It was very possible. If the Han clan emperor won, he wouldn't leave the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy so easily. Yes. The three true emperors from the Han clan acknowledged the order and cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. Then, they stepped out and left the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Xing Chen's eyes were filled with unwillingness. At this moment, a figure appeared in the sky. It was Emperor Formless. Greetings, Great Emperor. Everyone bowed and paid their respects to Emperor Formless. Now, I have an announcement to make. Emperor Formless' eyes were no longer gentle. Instead, they were filled with a sharp light. Anyone who met his gaze would feel their hearts race. From tomorrow onwards, the rules of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy will change. From now on, there will be no prohibition of killing in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. In other words, there will be no rules in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Emperor Formless' voice rang out. The hearts of many trembled. From tomorrow onwards, the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy would no longer prohibit killing. There would no longer be any rules. This would definitely cause a huge change in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. In the past, killing was forbidden in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. It was forbidden to cripple the cultivation of others. If one wanted to determine life and death, they had to fight on the life and death battle stage. If they didn't step onto the life and death battle stage, they would be safe in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. At the very least, they wouldn't have to worry about their lives. But all of this would change. In the future, the teachers of the Sacred Institute won't care about your affairs. Of course, all of this is the internal affairs of the Sacred Institute. If any external forces interfere, we will strike them with lightning. Also, I've placed 4 sets of formation discs in the holy battlefield. Each formation disc can cover an area of 100 miles. Only martial sovereigns can break it. After saying this, Emperor Formless' figure blurred like a phantom and then disappeared without a trace. Little guys, take care. The teachers of the Sacred Academy glanced at the crowd and left one after another, disappearing into the depths of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. As soon as the teachers of the Saint Academy left, the atmosphere became extremely heavy. Everyone looked at each other, their eyes filled with solemnness and wariness. From tomorrow onwards, there would be no ban on killing. Those who had grudges with each other would look at each other with cold killing intent. Luo Zhangxiong, Heng Xinghe, and the rest swept their gazes over Lu Ming and the others. They did not even bother to conceal their undisguised killing intent. Lu Ming, let's wait and see, let's go. Xing Qin said coldly. Then, his body flickered and he was the first to leave. After the Star River left, the death blade turned into a blade light and disappeared. This made the eyes of some powerful heaven's favorites light up. It seemed that the death blade was not on Lu Ming's side. Just like what the death blade had said, he attacked Lu Ming purely because he found the galaxy unpleasant to the eye. Some of the more powerful heaven's favorites let out a long sigh of relief. If the death blade was also in Lu Ming's group, then the strength of Lu Ming's group was too shocking. If they could fight against the Eternal Star River when they joined forces, they would be almost invincible in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. However, without the death blade, the strength of Lu Ming's group was greatly reduced. That death blade guy left without even saying goodbye. Huang Ling muttered unhappily. Lu Ming smiled slightly and did not mind. As the son of death, Death Blade naturally had his pride. He was not convinced by Lu Ming at all. He most likely wanted to wait for 20 years to challenge Lu Ming and replace him as the Golden Inheritor. However, Lu Ming was confident that he would definitely make the Death Blade convinced within 20 years. Let's go back. Lu Ming said. He, Qiu Yu, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the rest stepped into the air and left. After that, the others also left. From tomorrow onwards, the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy would no longer prohibit killing. They naturally had to make early preparations. In Lu Ming's residence, everyone gathered in a courtyard to discuss some matters. From tomorrow on, the situation of the Sacred Institute will definitely change greatly. How should we face it? Someone asked. It's best for us to gather together and concentrate our strength to avoid being defeated one by one. Lu Ming said. Then, he looked at Ouyang Wushuang and Luo Tianyi and said, Ouyang, Tianyi, bring all the people you can bring here. Well, gather together. All right. Ouyang Wushuang and Luo Tianyi nodded and agreed without hesitation. Other than Feng Ling and Long Chen, the others were shocked. Luo Tianyi and Ouyang Wushuang seemed to be very obedient to Lu Ming, which shocked them. During this period of time, we'd better not go to those cultivation places to cultivate. Well, make plans after the situation has stabilized. Lu Ming suggested. Everyone nodded. This was the best choice now. This mountain peak was very large, and everyone chose to stay in a courtyard. A day passed in the blink of an eye. From the second day onwards, the atmosphere of the entire Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy became tense and everyone was on guard. It has already been almost a year since the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy convened. Many people had grudges with each other. In the past, they couldn't kill each other. At most, they could teach each other a lesson to vent their anger. But now, things were different. As expected, the massacre began a few days later. Some Heaven's favorites were killed on the spot. This also opened the prologue of chaos in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. The tragic battle began. Boom! Not far from the mountain where Lu Ming and the rest lived, a shocking fluctuation burst out on a mountain peak. Two figures rushed out from the mountain peak and engaged in a fierce battle. However, the battle didn't last for long. A terrifying sword light flashed by, and a young Heaven's favorite was cut in half, dying here. The other elite took the storage ring and turned into a beam of sword light, disappearing. I wonder how many Heaven's favorites will die. A few figures stood in the air and watched. They were Lu Ming, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, and the others. Huang Ling sighed slightly. Perhaps this is the great emperor's strategy. Only by facing danger at all times can one tap into one's potential faster and more thoroughly, and break into a higher realm. Luo Tianyi said. The few of them nodded. However, the price to pay for this method was huge. I wonder why the great emperors are holding a meeting at the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy to nurture so many geniuses. Lu Ming opened his mouth and asked. The others were silent. This was actually what everyone had in mind. Why did the emperors spend so much effort to gather so many geniuses and nurture them? Most of the Heaven's favorites here came from the major forces. If they were successful in the future, they would definitely return to their forces. What good would that do for the emperors? Chapter 1911, Chapter 1911, Fighting for a Cultivation Place. Chapter 1911, Fighting for a Cultivation Place. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. As time passed, the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy became even more chaotic. Every day, there would be battles and killings. Every day, there would be geniuses dying. However, Lu Ming and the rest did not have any trouble. Lu Ming and the rest had many geniuses. They were very terrifying when they gathered together. Naturally, no one would have any ideas about them for the time being. As time passed, many people began to gather and form groups. They joined forces to fight against the strong enemy. Even so, there were still powerful Heaven's favorites who killed their way into a certain group and killed them all. The atmosphere in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy was extremely depressing. Under such circumstances, there were some geniuses who left the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. However, only a small number of people left. The various cultivation grounds of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy were too attractive. Furthermore, there were great emperors giving Tao lectures. Where could he find such cultivation conditions? In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, although it was dangerous, one's improvement was the fastest. If he left the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, his cultivation speed would definitely not be able to keep up with his cultivation in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Everyone was a Heaven's Pride expert. Once the gap between them widened, it would be difficult to catch up. The path of cultivation was like going against the current. If you didn't advance, you would fall behind. Once you fell behind, it was likely that you would never be able to catch up with the other Heaven's Pride experts in the future. Even your own achievements would be affected. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, he might be able to continuously tap on his potential and break through. His future achievements were hard to predict. But after leaving, that might not be the case. Therefore, only a small number of people left. Most of them stayed. Huang Kong was a genius of the Phoenix Palace. He had once fought with Feng Ling for the heart of the Wudong tree, but they had made up. On this day, he met up with the Phoenix Palace. A few geniuses of the Divine Elephant sect came to the Divine Power Purgatory Valley and planned to cultivate their divine powers there. However, they were stopped outside the valley. Stop! The Divine Purgatory Valley has been fully occupied by the Sky Saber Alliance. No one else is allowed to enter. Outside the Sacred Art Purgatory Valley, a few young men stopped Huang Kong and the rest. Sky Blade Alliance. You've reserved it? Huang Kong and the others were stunned. That's right. Now, get lost. One of the young men on the other side berated him arrogantly. How dare you? The Purgatory Valley was created by the great Emperor of the Sacred Academy. Anyone who enters the Sacred Academy can go in and cultivate. What right do you have to occupy it and not allow others to enter? An elite of the Divine Elephant sect was furious. That's right, you should be the ones to get lost. A disciple of Phoenix Palace berated. Since they don't want to get lost, then behead them. A cold voice came from the Purgatory Valley. A young man in a long golden robe with a cold face stepped out with a few other young men. The faces of Huang Kong and the others turned ugly. If you want to fight, we're not afraid. Let's go, said Huang Kong. He wanted to retreat and report this to Lu Ming and the others. Did one say you could leave? Do it. Kill them all. The golden-robed young man was overbearing. A golden saber appeared in his hand and he slashed at Huang Kong and the others. This person's cultivation was very strong, at the peak of the Supreme Saint realm. As for Huang Kong and the others, he had the highest cultivation. He was only a Supreme Saint. Not good, retreat, kill them. Huang Kong shouted. He had not expected the other party to be so overbearing. He had attacked them directly to kill them. However, the other party had more people. Their figures flashed and they surrounded them. Puchi. The golden-robed young man's saber fell and a disciple of Phoenix Palace was killed. Huang Kong's eyes turned red and he shouted, "You've killed a disciple of Phoenix Palace. Lu Ming and the others will never let you off." What? A disciple of the Phoenix Palace? The golden-robed youth and the others were shocked. He had not expected the other party to be a disciple of Phoenix Palace. The Phoenix Palace represented Lu Ming and the group of experts on his side. At the thought of Lu Ming and the rest's combat strength, the golden-robed young man broke out in a cold sweat. But now that he had already killed one of the other party's people, it was already impossible to ease the tension. Kill them all, don't let a single one escape. The gold-robed youth roared. Since they couldn't ease the tension, they would kill them all. This way, no one would know that they were the ones behind it. The terrifying attacks continued to attack Huang Kong and the others. Huang Kong and the others were few in number and their cultivation was weaker than Fang's. They could not resist at all and were killed one by one. Soon, only Huang Kong was left. Kill! The golden-robed young man's blade light continued to slash at Huang Kong. Soon, a long wound appeared on Huang Kong's body, and his body was almost cut in half. If not for the fact that he had the phoenix battle body, the phoenix's ability to rise from the ashes, and his strong life force, he would not have been able to fight anymore. A phoenix's cry was heard. A pair of phoenix wings appeared on Huang Kang's back. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the blood landed on the phoenix wings, causing the flames on the wings to burn and emit a bright light. Whoosh! Huang Kang rushed out of the encirclement despite his serious injuries and flew toward the place where Lu Ming and the others were gathered. Not good, chase. The golden-robed young man and the others' expressions changed drastically. They chased after Huang Kang, but he had used a secret skill that would put his life on the line. His speed was astonishing, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. The gold-robed youth's face was ashen. If Lu Ming and the rest knew that Huang Kang had escaped, what would they do? His eyes flashed with fear as he said, "Quickly report to the Alliance Master that Lu Ming and the others are here to fight for the divine power, Purgatory Valley." On the mountain where Lu Ming and the others lived, Lu Ming, Huang Ling, and the others were discussing some matters when someone suddenly rushed in to report. "Not good, one of our people has been killed." The person who made the report was a genius of the Phoenix Palace. His face was filled with anger. What? Lu Ming and the others' expressions changed. In a flash, they appeared outside the courtyard. They saw Huang Kang sitting cross-legged on the ground, covered in phoenix flames and blood. Huang Ling's face darkened. With a wave of her hand, the undying flame enveloped Huang Kang. With the help of the undying flame, Huang Kang's injuries recovered quickly. After a while, he was fully recovered. "Huang Kang, what's going on?" Huang Ling asked. "Our people have been killed," Huang Kang immediately told him what had happened. "Sky Blade Alliance, you're courting death." Huang Ling's body exploded with cold killing intent. "It seems that some people have already begun to fight for a cultivation place. Gather our people and let's go," Lu Ming shouted. Not long after, Lu Ming, Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, Long Chen, Desolate Li, and the rest made their way towards the sacred art, Purgatory Valley. He had killed their people, so he must take revenge. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived at the divine Purgatory Valley, there were already hundreds of people gathered outside. "It's them. They killed our people without any explanation." Huang Kang pointed at the golden-robed young man in the crowd. "Come out and die." Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he looked at the golden-robed young man. He shouted, causing the golden-robed young man's face to turn pale. Chapter 1912, Chapter 1912 Life for Life. Chapter 1912, Chapter 1912 Life for Life. "Lu Ming, what's the matter that made you so angry?" A burly young man stepped out. He was holding a saber, and his eyes were as sharp as blades. "Wei Tiandao," Huang Ling muttered. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He had heard of Wei Tiandao, the fourth-ranked Saint King. He had a terrifying king body and an unfathomable cultivation base. He was even stronger than Luo Zhangqiong. It seemed that the Sky Blade Alliance was established by Wei Tiandao. "Your people killed our people for no reason. A life for a life, they must die," Lu Ming said coldly. "They attacked us first, and we were forced to fight back," the golden-robed youth called out. "Nonsense. We came to the Mystic Ability Purgatory Valley to cultivate, but you stopped us and said that the Mystic Ability Purgatory Valley was already occupied by you. You attacked us and killed our people without any explanation. If one didn't risk my life to break out, one would have died," Huang Kang roared. "You're slandering me," the golden-robed youth said. "Lu Ming, it seems like there's a misunderstanding here. How about this? I'll give you half of the usage rights of the Purgatory Valley and well let this matter go. What do you think?" Wei Tiandao said. "You killed our people and you think you can let it go so easily? Is there something wrong with your brain?" Lu Ming berated him directly, a cold murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Wei Tiando's face darkened. He was ranked 4th on the Saint King ranking, but Lu Ming did not give him any face at all. This made him feel murderous. However, when he glanced at Luo Tianyi, Qiu Yu, and Huang Ling, he suppressed the killing intent in his heart. Lu Ming, what do you want? Wei Tiandao said. It's very simple. All those who attacked us will pay with their lives. Also, the Purgatory Valley will be ours from now on. Lu Ming said coldly. The golden-robed young man's expression changed and he shouted, Alliance Master, don't agree to it. We're only doing this for the Alliance. Wei Tiando's expression was dark as he said, Lu Ming, your condition is too much. Too much. Don't you have to pay the price for killing our people? Lu Ming sneered. Lu Ming, one suggests that we minimize the issue. Once the two sides start a war, it's not good for either of us. This time, you don't have the death blade to help you. Wei Tiandao spoke with a hint of threat. In other words, without the death blade's help, you won't gain any benefits from fighting me. Hee, you really know how to put gold on your face. Why do one need the help of the blade of death to deal with you? Since you want to fight, then let's fight. With that, Lu Ming took a step forward. A violent aura burst forth and pressed down on Wei Tiandao. At the same time, Luo Tianyi, Qiu Yu, and the others also released their auras. Whoosh! Wei Tiando's body exploded with a terrifying blade light that pierced through the sky. Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. Wei Tiando's cultivation had actually reached the Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. No wonder he was ranked 4th on the Saint King ranking. The people behind Wei Tiandao also released their auras. 2 of them were also extremely terrifying. They actually also had king physiques. The terrifying auras of the two sides clashed in the air, constantly colliding. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted and pointed his finger. And NBSP, a chaos finger of tribulation, formed and shot toward Wei Tiandao. Wei Tiandao unsheathed his saber and was about to attack when a transparent bubble suddenly appeared around him, enveloping him. His body froze. Break, break! Wei Tiandao roared and unleashed a dazzling saber light, trying to break the bubble spacetime laws. However, he was not Heng Xinghe. Heng Xinghe had an eternal body, with eternal divine light and the eternal laws, which could easily break the spacetime laws of the bubble. He only had a king physique. Although his cultivation level was similar to that of the Hengxing River, there was a huge difference in combat strength. How could he break through the spacetime laws in a short time? Heavenly illusion, let's go. Luo Tianyi said and cast the sky illusion law. Wei Tiandao was immediately trapped in an illusion. Break! Break! Break, break! Wei Tiandao roared as saber light burst forth from his body, trying to break through the illusion and spacetime laws. At this moment, Lu Ming's attack had already arrived. Boom! And NBSP, the primal chaos tribulation finger, landed on Wei Tiando's body. Even though Wei Tiandao used a blade light to block it, his body still trembled and he was forced back, spitting out a mouthful of blood. However, as soon as he stepped back, another transparent bubble enveloped him. Then, Luo Tianyi's illusion shook his soul again. Although Luo Tianyi's cultivation was at the Absolute Saint late stage, her soul was very strong, far beyond her own realm. Coupled with her sky illusion law, she had a huge influence on Wei Tiandao. Despite Wei Tiando's strength, it was difficult for him to display it in such a short time. Buzz! Lu Ming took a step forward and the Dian elixir furnace appeared in his palm. It grew in size rapidly and smashed toward Wei Tiandao. Bang! Wei Tiandao was smashed into a daze. His body crashed heavily onto the ground and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. The other members of the Sky Blade Alliance were shocked. The golden-robed young man and the others who had attacked him earlier all turned pale. Wait, stop! Wei Tiandao roared. What do you want to say? Lu Ming stood high in the sky and looked at Wei Tiandao coldly. Wei Tiandao's eyes were filled with shock. It was only now that he truly understood how terrifying Lu Ming and the rest were when they joined forces. Back then, when Lu Ming and the rest joined forces, they were suppressed by the galaxy. It was not that Lu Ming and the rest were not strong, but the galaxy was too strong. Wei Tiandao only realized how terrifying Lu Ming and the others were after they exchanged blows. With so many people working together, he couldn't use his full strength at all and could only take the beating. Furthermore, there were still other king physiques that had yet to make a move. If they really started a battle, they would lose without a doubt. Lu Ming, I agree to your conditions. Wei Tiandao said helplessly. He felt extremely humiliated, but there was nothing he could do in this situation. No, President, you have to save us, you have to save us. The golden-robed young man screamed in fear. If Wei Tiandao did not save them, they would be dead for sure. He has to bear the consequences of his own actions. Let's go. Wei Tiandao shouted and turned to leave. The other members of the Sky Saber Alliance looked at the golden-robed young man and his group with pity. Chapter 1913, The Absolute Saint Battlefield. Chapter 1913, The Absolute Saint Battlefield. After that, the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy became even more chaotic. All the large groups fought and killed each other for those cultivation places. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, the cultivation land was the most important cultivation resource. It was of great help to one's cultivation. Naturally, the competition was very intense. And all of this, the teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy didn't interfere. Ever since that day, the teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy seemed to have disappeared. Only a few people were left to maintain the operation of the cultivation places. After that, some small groups began to form alliances and congregate into large groups. One alliance after another began to appear. The leaders of those alliances were all experts on the Saint King ranking. 2 months after the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy did not prohibit killing, dozens of alliances appeared in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. At the mountain peak where Lu Ming and the rest lived, the crowd gathered again. Lu Ming, should we form an alliance? Huang Ling suggested. One also think that it's a good idea to form an alliance. Once we do so, we'll have a legitimate reason to do so, and other people will come to join us and increase our strength. Ouyang Wushuang suggested. That's right. There will be people coming to join the alliance. It'll be of great use in the future to get to know more people. Luo Tianyi also said. Following that, the others also spoke up, feeling that an alliance needed to be established. However, everyone was waiting for Lu Ming's opinion. During this period of time, Lu Ming was the leader of the group. At this moment, a piece of news came. In the Eternal Star River, he had successfully obtained a set of formation discs in the Holy Saint battlefield, which covered 100 miles of his residence. At the same time, he had established the Heaven Emperor Alliance, and many people from small alliances had joined it. The Stellar River has acquired a formation plate set. Many people's expressions changed. We've sent people to find out more about the formation plate on the Holy Saint battlefield. How's it going? Lu Ming asked. During this period of time, they had also been asking around for information about formation discs. At this time, the effect of a set of formation discs was too great. A set of formation discs could cover a radius of 100 miles and could only be broken by martial sovereigns. This was equivalent to having a base and not being afraid of being attacked. This was very important to an alliance. This meant that his safety was guaranteed. Normally, he could cultivate in the cultivation land, but he couldn't stay in the cultivation land all the time. After cultivating for a period of time, he would have to leave the cultivation land and find a place to digest. There was no need to worry about one's own safety when living in the area covered by the formation plate. However, there were only 4 sets of formation discs in total. Once someone obtained one set, there would definitely be many people who would join them. Lu Ming sighed. It was obvious that Emperor Formless had already expected this outcome. That was why he had left 4 sets of arrayed discs in the holy battlefield. However, the Absolute Saint battlefield was very large. During this period of time, many people had been looking for news of formation discs. Unexpectedly, the Star River was one step ahead and obtained a set of formation discs. During this period of time, we've been sending people to investigate, and we've already found some clues. Ouyang Wushuang said. Alright, then we'll wait until we get the formation discs before we form an alliance. Lu Ming said. The others nodded in agreement. It would be most effective to establish an alliance after obtaining the formation plate. Following that, they continued to send people to search for information on the formation discs. On the other hand, the Heavenly Emperor Alliance in the Eternal Star River was getting stronger and stronger. The Eternal Star River was the number 1 on the Saint King ranking and had astonishing strength. Now that he was the first to obtain a formation plate, naturally, there would be many who would come to seek refuge. It was said that Luo Zhangqiong, Luo Pokong, and Feng Wuchen of the Feng clan had all sought refuge in the Star River and joined the Heavenly Emperor Alliance. The Heaven Emperor Alliance had become a giant existence. However, the galaxy did not cause trouble for Lu Ming and the rest because he could not figure out the Death Blade's intentions. Lu Ming, on the other hand, went to look for Luo Xiang alone. He planned to use the Dian Elixir Furnace to help Luo Xiang temper his spirit body. With Luo Xiang's potential, he would definitely be able to temper his spirit body to the upper-class heavenly spirit body. When Luo Xiang found out about the effects of the Dian Elixir Furnace, he was also extremely shocked. After that, Luo Xiang entered the Dian Elixir Furnace to temper. Just half a month after the Eternal Star River obtained the formation disc, the second formation disc appeared. It was obtained by the Divine Fire Alliance led by a prodigy ranked 2nd on the Saint King ranking. The 2nd on the Saint King ranking was called the Fire Emperor. He was a genius of the fire race, an ancient race. After he obtained the array disc, many people turned to him. In an instant, the Divine Fire Alliance became a force second only to the Celestial Emperor Alliance. After half a month of continuous tempering, Luo Xiang's spiritual body had also evolved into a superior grade heavenly spiritual body. When Luo Xiang's spirit body evolved, it actually drove his cultivation and entered the Absolute Saint realm. Luo Xiang's cultivation base had already reached the limit of Supreme Saint, so it was normal for him to break through this time. Luo Xiang had a king body and could control one of the king path laws, the fast and slow laws. Now that he had become an absolute saint, Lu Ming and the others' strength had increased. At this moment, a piece of good news arrived. They finally found the location of the formation plate. Lu Ming immediately gathered all the people and headed to the holy battlefield. The Holy Ji battlefield was actually a huge world of formations. It was built by the great emperor himself. When the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute first opened, only absolute saints could enter to fight and cultivate. But now, the absolute saint battlefield had been adjusted, and even bright saints could enter. The entrance to the holy battlefield was guarded by teachers of the Saint Academy. They had to pay a large number of raw stones to enter. Lu Ming and the rest, a total of dozens of people, paid the raw stones and entered a spacious secret room. This secret room could be considered to have been reserved by them, and outsiders were not allowed to enter. Entering the Absolute Saint battlefield meant that one's mind would enter, and their physical body would remain outside. This was to prevent them from being ambushed after entering the Absolute Saint battlefield. Everyone sat cross-legged, and in the secret chamber, inscriptions appeared and covered their bodies. The next moment, they found that their spirits had escaped into a strange space. Then, they found that they had appeared on a grassland. It's so real. The cultivation level is exactly the same as the outside world. Even the laws are the same. Lu Ming sensed for a while and realized that the conditions were the same as the outside world. There was really no difference. Lu Ming was shocked. This array world was indeed extraordinary. Back in the Divine Yuan Empire, when he had helped Ouyang Wushuang with the battle for the Crown Prince, the first stage was also to enter a world of formations. However, those who entered the world of formations would condense a body of a LV1 martial emperor. Their own cultivation and the power of laws could not be used inside. But here, he could use it as he wished. The level of profoundness was on a completely different level. The others who had never entered the Absolute Saint battlefield also felt it and were amazed. It was built by the great emperor himself, and it was indeed extraordinary. There are many beasts formed by formations on the holy battlefield. I heard that one of the formation discs might be in the Violent Ape Mountain. Ouyang Wushuang said. As the crown prince of the Xinyuan Empire, he could naturally mobilize many of the empire's geniuses. The information he had gathered during this period of time had all been arranged by Ouyang Wushuang. Chapter 1914, Attacking the Violent Ape Mountain. Chapter 1914, Attacking the Violent Ape Mountain. Violent Ape Mountain? How's his strength? Lu Ming asked. The Violent Ape Mountain is inhabited by a type of ancient violent ape. They are warlike by nature, have infinite strength, and are extremely powerful in battle. The most powerful violent ape in the Violent Ape Mountain is at the Quasi-Emperor realm. There are many violent apes at the Absolute Saint realm below it. Some time ago, several alliances tried to explore the Violent Ape Mountain, but they were all killed by the violent ape. Ouyang Wushuang explained. A violent ape at the Emperor-to-be realm? Many people's eyes narrowed. With the protection of the Emperor-to-be violent ape, it was indeed not easy to obtain a formation disc. But fortunately, this was the battlefield of the saints, the world of formations. Even if he died in this world, his real body would be fine. Ouyang, you lead the way. Lu Ming told Ouyang Wushuang. Ouyang Wushuang nodded and led the way, followed by the rest. The Absolute Saint battlefield was vast and boundless. They flew for a few hours before a mountain that pierced through the clouds appeared in front of them. Roar! Roar! Even from far away, one could hear the roars and howls, which were filled with brutal intent. They had arrived at the Violent Ape Mountain. Wait a moment. Those with weak cultivation will stay outside and attract some of the violent ape's attention. Those with strong cultivation will follow me and charge up the mountain. Lu Ming assigned tasks to everyone. In the Absolute Saint battlefield, if one died in battle, they wouldn't really die. Thus, using people with weaker cultivation to attract a portion of the violent apes was the best strategy. No one had any objections, and they all headed towards the mountain together. Someone's coming. Lu Ming's expression suddenly changed and he looked in another direction. In that direction, a group of people was flying over. The group flying at the very front were all young men and women in white robes, and they were extremely handsome. Thank you, Nianjuan. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. He was a little surprised. He didn't expect to see Xian Nianjuan here. It's the Ancient Saint clan. Luo Tianyi said softly. The Ancient Saint clan was a powerful ancient clan. Those extremely handsome men and women in white robes were the members of the Ancient Saint clan. And the people behind the Ancient Saint clan should be the elites of the alliance with the Ancient Saint clan. It was obvious that the Ancient Saint tribe also wanted to go up the mountain and take the array disc. Lu Ming. Xian Yanjuan looked at Lu Ming in surprise. It's Lu Ming and the rest. The other Ancient Saint clans, as well as the geniuses who were not from the Ancient Saint clans, all looked serious. The combat strength of Lu Ming's group had left a deep impression on them. Now that they were together, it would be difficult for them to seize the array disc. Hehe, Lu Ming, I didn't expect to meet you at the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. What a coincidence. Xian Yanjuan smiled. What a coincidence. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Xian Yanqing had helped him once in the Tsang region and revealed the deity's cultivation level and secrets before the battle. However, Lu Ming still had a bad impression of Xian Yanjuan. Back in the Divine Wilderness continent, the two of them were mortal enemies. Many people looked at Lu Ming and then at Xian Yanjuan in surprise. Lu Ming and Xian Yanjuan knew each other. I'm really impressed. How does Lu Ming know so many beautiful women? Logically speaking, I'm quite handsome too. Why don't I know so many beautiful women? Desolate Li touched his head and muttered. Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, and the other women all had a strange look on their faces. As for the other big guys from the desolate race, they looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Xian Yanjuan smiled, seemingly unconcerned with Lu Ming's attitude. Lu Ming, you're here to take the array disc too. I've naturally come here to seize the formation plate. Lu Ming said. What a coincidence, we're also here for the formation plate. Since I helped you once before, how about you give me the formation plate? Xian Yanjuan smiled. Give it to you. There are emperor-to-be violent apes on the Violent Ape Mountain. Even if I give them to you, I'm afraid you won't be able to take them down. Let's just rely on our own abilities. Lu Ming smiled and stopped talking to Xian Yanjuan. They flew to the other side of the Violent Ape Mountain. If the ancient Saint clan wanted to take the array disc, then so be it. The two parties would attack the mountain from different directions. Whoever could get it would be the one who had the ability. They went to the other side of the mountain and acted according to their original plan. Some of the weaker ones rushed towards the mountain. Not long after, a series of angry roars could be heard from the Violent Ape Mountain. A group of violent apes chased after those people and disappeared into the distance. Bubble. Lu Ming took the opportunity to send a voice transmission to Bubbles. Chirping, Bubbles waved her small hands and a space-time tunnel formed, extending to the peak of the mountain. And NBSP everyone charged into the space-time tunnel. Roar. At this time, a terrifying roar came from the top of the mountain. A huge violent ape appeared. It was at least 100 meters tall. It held a huge stick in its hand and swept it toward the space-time tunnel. Boom. 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 And NBSP as the giant stick swept through, the world rumbled, and the space-time tunnel shattered. Lu Ming and the group had just stepped into the space-time tunnel and had not crossed half the distance when they were forcefully thrown out of the space-time tunnel. Sure enough, it doesn't work. The strength of an emperor-to-be is really amazing. Lu Ming thought to himself. An emperor-to-be was indeed powerful. The moment Bubbles opened the space-time tunnel, he was discovered and the space-time tunnel was destroyed in one fell swoop. His plan of using the space-time tunnel to reach the mountaintop in one go was ruined. Roar. The emperor-to-be giant ape stood on the peak of the mountain and roared. Roar. Roar. The entire Violent Ape Mountain was in an uproar. Loud roars could be heard as violent apes appeared one after another. Some were unarmed, some were holding metal rods, and some were grabbing huge rocks as they charged towards Lu Ming and the others. From a distance away, huge rocks the size of houses were smashing toward Lu Ming and the rest. Charge! Lu Ming shouted and everyone rushed to the mountain peak at top speed. While they were attacking, Bubbles pressed her small hand gently. The space in front of her rippled, and those giant rocks were crushed into pieces by the space power. Then, the violent apes rushed over. Bubbles spat out a bunch of bubbles from her small mouth and enveloped the giant apes. Lu Ming and the rest took action one after another and killed the giant apes. The moment these giant apes died, they turned into energy and disappeared. Those who followed Lu Ming were Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, Long Chen, Desolate Li, Ouyang Wushuang, Luo Xiang, Lu Ming, and Bubbles. There were a total of 9 people, and they were all absolute saints. They were all above the king body, and with their cooperation, their speed was shocking. No matter if it was a lower-tier absolute saint or a perfected absolute saint, they were all killed instantly. They were like a sharp knife, rushing to the peak of the mountain. On the other side of the mountain, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard. Clearly, the ancient saint clan had also begun their attack. It's good that the ancient saint tribe is here. They can help us attract a group of violent apes. Ouyang Wushuang said with a smile. The others also smiled. That was indeed the case. With the ancient saint tribe attacking the mountain, the violent ape on the other side had been attracted, and the pressure on them had been reduced by a lot. Within a few minutes, Lu Ming and the rest were approaching the peak of the mountain. Chapter 1915, The New Dragon Alliance. Chapter 1915, The New Dragon Alliance Roar. At the peak of the mountain, the emperor-to-be violent ape roared at the sky. Its eyes were bloodshot as it stomped heavily. Suddenly, the mountain rocks exploded and the entire mountain shook violently. The violent ape's huge body rushed toward Lu Ming and the others like a cannonball. The huge rod in its hand smashed toward Lu Ming and the others with unstoppable momentum. Chaos Finger. And NBSP Lu Ming pointed with his finger, forming the Chaos Finger of Tribulation. He charged at Bao Yuan and clashed with his giant staff. Boom! And NBSP in the next moment, the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger was shattered, but Bao Yuan had also been stopped. When Lu Ming was a great saint in the Great Perfection Realm, he could cross realms and kill an absolute saint in the Great Perfection Realm. Although an emperor-to-be was much stronger than an absolute saint in the Great Circle, after breaking through to the absolute saint realm, his fighting power had also increased by a large margin. He could fight against an emperor-to-be expert. Chirping, Pow Pow stood on Lu Ming's shoulder. It opened its mouth and a transparent bubble formed, enveloping the violent ape within. Roar! Break! Bao Yuan roared and tried to break the transparent bubble with all his strength. However, the bubble's strength was enough to fight against an emperor-to-be, so how could the other party break it so easily? Roar! Roar! In the surroundings, roars could be heard as one giant ape after another charged over. You guys block those violent apes. Leave this to me and Bubble. Lu Ming shouted. Qiu Yu, Luo Tianyi, and the others flashed and rushed to the surrounding violent apes to block them. Lu Ming took the opportunity to charge at the emperor-to-be violent ape. He pointed his finger again and a huge finger crushed the other party. Lu Ming had wanted to take out the Dian Elixir furnace to refine the giant ape, but he realized that there was no Dian Elixir furnace in his sea of consciousness. Lu Ming came to a realization. Although this world of formations was mysterious, it was not omnipotent. It was impossible to condense treasures above the sovereign weapon. Sovereign weapons were forged by martial emperor powerhouses with all kinds of precious materials. If the formation world could be condensed into one, it would be too terrifying. And NBSP, the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger, pressed down, and Bao Yuan roared as he struggled with all his strength to resist. And NBSP, but it was suppressed by the spacetime dimension laws, and the power it could use was less than 50% of its normal power. It was struck by the Chaos Finger of Tribulation and sent flying, crashing into the mountain. The mountain peak shook, gravel flew, and smoke and dust filled the air. Space cutting. Time stop. Pow Pow flew out and circulated the spacetime law with all her might. The space turned into a terrifying cutting force that slashed towards Bao Yuan. At the same time, she used the power of spacetime stop to restrict Bao Yuan's movements. Lu Ming stepped forward and launched a chaotic finger of tribulation with all his might. With the two of them working together, the laws of chaos and the laws of time and space worked together. Their combat power was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, but it was multiplied by several times. And NBSP Bao Yuan had almost no power to resist. When the two attacks landed on his body, he roared and his body exploded. And NBSP, after Bao Yuan's body exploded, it began to exude a dazzling light. In the light, 9 array discs actually appeared. So this set of formation discs is in the body of this violent ape. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He waved his hand and put away the 9 array discs. The formation plate is in our hands, retreat, break. Lu Ming shouted and used the prison-suppressing heavenly art. 9 illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared and sent the 9 violent apes flying. Qiu Yu and the rest took the opportunity to retreat and join Lu Ming's group to break out of the encirclement. Behind them, the other violent apes roared angrily and chased after Lu Ming and the rest. However, they were not good at speed and were soon left behind by Lu Ming and the rest. Xian Yanjuan looked into the distance and said, "It seems that the array disc has been obtained by Lu Ming and the rest. Let's retreat." After that, the people of the ancient saint clan broke out of the encirclement and left the place. Not long after, Lu Ming and the rest retreated from the absolute saint battlefield and returned to the mountain peak where they lived. Lu Ming stood in the sky above the mountain peak. With a wave of his hand, 9 array discs appeared and emitted a dazzling radiance. And NBSP, one of the array boards, floated in the air above the mountain, while the other 8 flew in all directions, forming a light screen that covered a 100-mile radius. Below, the paragons of the Phoenix Palace, the Divine Elephant Sect, the Thunder God Sect, and other forces burst into cheers. With the protection of this array plate, they could cultivate in peace in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Usually, they could go to those cultivation places in groups. After they finished cultivating, they would return here and would not have to worry about being attacked. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Ouyang Wushuang, Long Chen, and the others flew to Lu Ming's side. Lu Ming, now that we have the array disc, it's time to form an alliance. Ouyang Wushuang said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. I'm pushing Lu Ming to be the alliance leader. You guys won't have any objections, right? Huang Li was the first to speak. After he finished speaking, he looked at Ouyang Wushuang and the others. I naturally have no objections. Huang Ling smiled. I also have no objections. I don't have any either. Following that, Long Chen, Qiu Yu, and Luo Xiang spoke up respectively. They naturally supported Lu Ming as the alliance leader. Finally, everyone looked at Ouyang Wushuang and Luo Tianyi. Of course, I support Lu Ming. Me too. Luo Tianyi and Ouyang Wushuang both nodded. They were silver inheritors and had to listen to Lu Ming's orders. Why would they fight for the position of alliance leader with him? Okay, then our alliance will be called the Dragon Alliance. Let the Sacred Institute know that the Dragon Alliance will be officially established in 3 days. At that time, all parties are welcome to join us. Lu Ming spoke and made a decision. His eyes shone with anticipation. He had an idea. He wanted to make the Dragon Alliance flourish in the Yuan continent and become an overlord force. Then, everything would start now. The Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy was filled with top geniuses from all over the world. If these people were absorbed into the Dragon Alliance now, they would definitely play a very important role in the future development of the Dragon Alliance. Yes, Alliance Master. Ouyang Wushuang immediately cupped his fists. We pay our respects to the Alliance Master. Following that, Luo Tianyi, Desolate Li, Long Chen, and the others also cupped their fists. After that, it was Phoenix Palace's turn. The Divine Elephant Sect's paragons saluted Lu Ming one after another. Then, everyone got busy, spreading the news and preparing for the banquet 3 days later. When the news spread, the entire Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy was in an uproar. The 3rd array disc had landed in the hands of Lu Ming and the others. It was indeed shocking. Lu Ming and the others' strength was obvious to all. This was definitely a powerful force in the valley. Some of the small groups that had not joined the Heavenly Emperor Alliance or the Divine Fire Alliance began to consider whether they should join Lu Ming and the rest. It's better to join the Heavenly Emperor Alliance than the Dragon Alliance. Lu Ming has offended the Star River. He will be killed by the Star River sooner or later. That's right. The Heng family is guarding outside the Sacred Institute. Lu Ming can't even leave the Sacred Institute. If he joins the Dragon Alliance, I'm afraid he'll be implicated by Lu Ming. The Heng family might also target him. That would be terrible. This was the opinion of some small groups. They felt that Lu Ming and the rest would be defeated at the hands of the Hengxing River sooner or later. If they joined the Dragon Alliance, they might be implicated. However, there were also some small groups that had opposite opinions. They felt that Lu Ming and the rest had endless potential. Although their cultivation level was still low, they would be very terrifying in the future. Putting everything else aside, Lu Ming even had 2 sons of God. If his cultivation level increased, would he be afraid of the Eternal Star River? Therefore, a portion of them chose to join the Dragon Alliance. Chapter 1916, Xie Nianjuan joins the Alliance. Chapter 1916, Xie Nianjuan joins the Alliance. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the day of the Dragon Alliance's establishment had arrived. On this day, dozens of tables were set up on the mountain where they lived. Early in the morning, someone had arrived to pay a visit to Lu Ming and was willing to join the Dragon Alliance. At noon, the number of people slowly increased, but it was still far from the day when the Heaven Emperor Alliance was established. Obviously, there were very few people who were optimistic about Lu Ming and the rest. However, what made Lu Ming and the rest happy was that 2 small groups had joined them. The leaders of these 2 small groups were all geniuses with king physique. After that, all the elites of the Purple Flame Villa from the ancient Yang Sacred Land joined the Dragon Alliance. Some of the supreme talents in the Purple Flame Villa had made a bet that they would serve Lu Ming for 50 years. Now that the Dragon Alliance had been established, they naturally joined it. After the people from the Purple Flame Villa arrived, another group of people arrived, attracting everyone's attention. It's the Ancient Saint clan. Someone exclaimed. The Ancient Saint tribe was an alliance as well. There were more than 100 of them. At this moment, all of them had arrived. However, they were blocked out by the light screen formed by the formation plate. If Lu Ming was not willing to let them in, they could not enter. Lu Ming, what's wrong? You won't let us in. Xie Nianqing walked in front and smiled. Are you here to congratulate me? Lu Ming's voice was heard. No. Xie Nianjuan shook his head, a meaningful smile on his face. We are here to join the Dragon Alliance. What? Many people were shocked. The Ancient Saint clan had come to join the Dragon Alliance. Some people revealed looks of joy. The strength of the Ancient Divine tribe was already shocking. In addition, there were several king physiques in the alliance with the Ancient Divine tribe. If the Ancient Divine tribe joined the Dragon Alliance would be very powerful. It might even surpass the Divine Fire Alliance and be second only to the Heavenly Emperor Alliance. Lu Ming was stunned as well. He did not expect Xie Nianjuan to bring the Ancient Saint clan back to join the Dragon Alliance and rely on him. Back in the Divine Wilderness continent, Xie Nianjuan and he were mortal enemies. He still remembered Xie Nianjuan's resentful expression. What's wrong? Don't you welcome us? Lu Ming, we are a family. Xie Nianjuan smiled. What? Everyone was stunned. Qiu Yu, Feng Ling, Luo Tianyi, and the others looked at Lu Ming curiously. Lu Ming and Xie Nianjuan were a family? Could it be that Lu Ming and Xie Nianjuan had a secret relationship? Many people couldn't help but let their imaginations run wild. Xie Nianjuan chuckled. Lu Ming, you're my brother-in-law. Don't you want me to join you? These words made many people's hearts tremble even more. Especially Huang Ling, Qiu Yu, Luo Tianyi, and a few other women, their faces were a little strange. Young master, are you married to Miss Nianqing? It's normal for them to be married after so many years. But why don't I see Miss Nianqing? Chiu Yu's mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts, and she felt a little bitter in her heart. Then, Chiu Yu shook her head and thought, Chiu Yue, what are you thinking about? Young Master and Miss Nianqing are a match made in heaven. You only need to stay by young Master's side and serve him well. How can you be worthy of young Master? It turns out that Lu Ming already has a wife. But why didn't he tell me? Huang Ling thought to herself and felt a little disappointed. Luo Tianyi's eyes were also a little strange. Long Chen was the only one who remained calm. He was Xian Yanjin's real brother-in-law. Lu Ming smiled bitterly, but he could not refute Xian Yanjin's words. Given his relationship with Xian Yanqing, it was only a matter of time before they got married. Xian Yanjuan was Xian Yanqing's elder sister, so it wasn't wrong to call him brother-in-law. Are you guys really here to join the Dragon Alliance? Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and asked. That's only natural. Currently, the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy is split up by many powerful individuals. You are my relative and are the most familiar with you. I would naturally come to seek refuge with you. Xian Yanjuan said with a smile. Don't try to get close to me. You wanted to kill me back then. I really doubt your intentions. Lu Ming said coldly. People change. Back then, one was too short-sighted in that corner of the world. Now, I naturally have to look at the long term. There is no eternal enemy in this world. Xian Yanjuan said with a smile on his face. Compared to his cold and arrogant self, he was indeed very different. You can join the Dragon Alliance, but the Dragon Alliance has its own rules. If you break any of the rules, I won't show you any mercy. Lu Ming said. Naturally. Xian Yanjuan chuckled. Her position in the Ancient Saint clan seemed to be extraordinary. The other members of the Ancient Saint clan seemed to listen to her. Lu Ming did not dare to underestimate Xian Yanjuan. Ever since he met this woman in the Yuan continent, Lu Ming had always felt that she was dangerous and mysterious. In her body, Lu Ming seemed to sense a terrifying power that was dormant. Once it exploded, it would be earth-shattering. He had the same feeling when he saw Xian Yanqing. After that, Lu Ming controlled the array disc and let the ancient sacred clan members in. Alright, let's start the alliance. Lu Ming waved his hand. However, this was the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute after all. The conditions were limited. The process of establishing an alliance was very simple. Everyone paid their respects to Lu Ming, and then the banquet was held to celebrate. While everyone was eating and drinking, someone else descended outside the area covered by the formation plate. The one and only holy temple. Lu Ming's gaze swept across. A few heaven's favorites from the sacred hall stood outside the light screen. The one in the lead was Yu Shu. Yu Shu, you've joined the Heaven Emperor Alliance for a long time. What's the matter with you here today? Ouyang Wushuang's voice was heard. Could it be that you want to switch sides and join my Dragon Alliance? The Dragon Alliance doesn't dare to accept people who change sides at will. One of the geniuses from the Purple Flame Villa laughed. We're here today for my junior sister. Yu Shu snorted and looked at Chiu Yu. Junior sister Chiu Yue, come with us and join the Heavenly Emperor Alliance. If you stay in the Dragon Alliance, you'll get into trouble sooner or later. Did Luo Zhangqiong send you here? Chiu Yu said indifferently. That's right, Luo Zhangqiong asked us to come here, but it was also our own idea. There is no benefit for you to stay in the Dragon Alliance. Yu Shu said. Get lost. Chiu Yu scolded coldly. Yu Shu's expression changed, and she said gloomily, Chiu Yue, don't be so selfish. Luo Zhangqiong is the grandson of the great sovereign. If you go against him like this, you will only implicate the only sacred palace and even your master. You sure know how to talk nonsense. The matter between a few juniors actually involved the only sacred temple and the true emperor. Isn't that funny? Lu Ming spoke indifferently. Yu Shu, don't make it sound so high and mighty. You're doing this for yourself, right? If you can bring me to the Heaven Emperor Alliance, I'm afraid Luo Tsangqiong will reward you handsomely. Qiu Yu said sarcastically. You guys, Yu Shu's face turned red. You don't want to get lost? Then come in and have a drink. Desolate Power stepped into the air, his eyes flashing with a ferocious light. Chapter 1917, A Year and a Half, Lu Xiangxiang. Chapter 1917, A Year and a Half, Lu Xiangxiang. Yu Shu and the few heaven's favorites from the only sacred hall turned around and ran. Their voices came from afar, you guys, just you wait. Hee hee, a few clowns. Desolate Li grinned and returned to his meal. After 3 rounds of drinking, the banquet finally ended. Those who joined the Dragon Alliance all lived within the area covered by the array disk. The formation of the Dragon Alliance and the appearance of the third formation plate made the atmosphere in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy even more tense. This was because 3 out of the 4 sets of formation discs had already appeared. There was still 1 more set left. The competition in the remaining small alliances became even more intense. There were fights every day on the Absolute Saint battlefield. After more than 10 days of competition, the 4th set of formation discs was finally obtained by an alliance, the Knights Association. The leader of this alliance was the 3rd-ranked genius on the Saint King ranking. He was very powerful. With that, all 4 sets of formation discs were obtained, forming 4 alliances. The remaining small groups and alliances all joined the 4 alliances to seek protection. Because without the protection of the array disc, they would be in danger in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy and could be attacked at any time. There were very few people who didn't join the 4 alliances. There were only a few powerful lone wolves, such as the Son of Death, Death Blade. He was a lone wolf. However, none of the forces dared to offend him. No matter which cultivation place he went to, no force would dare to stop him. He was too powerful. Now, no one could say that they could defeat the Death Blade, except for the Hengxing River. However, this also proved that the Death Blade had nothing to do with the Dragon Alliance. However, the number of people who joined the Heaven Emperor Alliance was still the most. The Heaven Emperor Alliance was undoubtedly the most powerful. Some people ranked the 4 alliances based on their strength. Heaven Emperor Alliance, number 1. The Dragon League was 2nd. The Divine Fire Alliance and the Knights Association were in 3rd and 4th place respectively. In the following period of time, the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy became even more chaotic. The 4 alliances started to fight for the cultivation grounds, killing each other continuously. It was only after a few months that the killing finally stopped. The 4 alliances each occupied a cultivation ground, and Mount Yuan entered a period of peace. The heavens' favorites from the 4 alliances each took a spot and started to cultivate. During this period, Lu Ming would also choose some reliable people and use the Dian Elixir Furnace to help them temper their spirit bodies and upgrade their spirit bodies' levels. For example, with the help of the Dian Elixir Furnace, the 4 elites of the Desolate race with medium-grade heavenly spiritual bodies had all evolved their spiritual bodies to become high-grade heavenly spiritual bodies, greatly increasing their strength. And Xuaningxin, with the help of the Dian Elixir Furnace, had also reached the upper-class heavenly spiritual body. Xuaningxin was a true dragon and had enough talent. With the help of the Dian Elixir Furnace, her spirit body improved rapidly. The strength of the entire Dragon Alliance was constantly improving. In the blink of an eye, more than a year had passed. It had been a year and a half since the Great Emperor had announced the new rules. During this period of time, although Lu Ming often helped others to temper their spirit bodies, he did not neglect his own cultivation. The place where he stayed the most was the Absolute Saint battlefield. There, he fought with powerful ferocious beasts and used the battle to stimulate his own potential. Lu Ming's cultivation base had also successfully broken through and entered the Mastery Absolute Saint realm. The other king bodies, such as Qiu Yu, Huang Ling, Huang Li, and Long Chen, had also broken through and entered the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm. Luo Tianyi had even reached the pinnacle of the Absolute Saint realm. The higher one's cultivation was, the harder it would be to break through. It was already very fast to be able to break through one level in just over a year. This was also because of the good cultivation conditions in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. If he were to cultivate normally, he would definitely not be able to achieve such a speed. As for the divine ability art, ever since Lu Ming's divine ability art had reached 90% mastery, the speed of improvement had become even slower. After a year and a half, Lu Ming's divine power technique had only improved to 93%. Every step forward was extremely difficult. The closer one got to the perfect 100%, the more difficult it was. The galaxy had reached the absolute saint perfection a year and a half ago. However, it would not be easy for him to cross this step and enter the Emperor-to-be realm. Heaven Emperor City was the leader of the 9 sacred lands of Yuan Mountain. Its overall strength was much stronger than the ancient Moon Sacred Land. In the Heavenly Emperor City, there were a few of the biggest ancient aristocratic families that had been passed down for countless years. They were powerful and had a deep foundation. The Hung family was one of them, and they were known as the descendants of the Heavenly Emperor. The He clan was one of them. They were as powerful as the Hung clan and had a feud with the Hung clan. 1,000 years ago, the two clans had a terrible war that resulted in countless deaths and injuries. It was only in the recent hundreds of years that the situation had stabilized. The mansion of the He family was extremely vast and boundless. In the He family's mansion, there were not only endless palaces, pavilions, and towers, but also mountain peaks that reached into the clouds and a winding river. It was like a country. Several figures were standing on a mountain peak of the He family. One of them was a white-haired old man with a kind expression. Beside the old man was a burly young man. These two people were actually the Ice Dragon Valley Master and Tian Chui. Not far from the two of them, there was an old man. The old man was wearing a brocade robe embroidered with the different scenery of the 4 seasons. However, he was very old, much older than Ice Dragon Valley Master. His face was full of wrinkles, and his hair was almost all gone. However, from the flash of a terrifying light in his eyes, one could tell that this person must be a very terrifying master. However, all 3 of them were looking at a young girl who was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the mountain. This young lady was Lu Ming's first true disciple, Lu Xiangxiang. At this moment, Lu Xiangxiang's body emitted a mysterious light. The mountain was filled with endless vitality. Countless flowers and trees grew wildly. Small trees turned into towering ancient trees. Even some ordinary grass turned into spiritual grass. Boom! After a moment, the aura on Lu Xiangxiang's body suddenly soared. I've broken through. And NBSP on the side, the eyes of the withered elder, Ice Dragon Valley Master, and Tian Chui lit up in shock. Lu Xiangxiang had broken through to the peak of the Supreme Saint realm. Especially the Valley Master and Tian Chui, they were truly shocked. Xiangxiang Bella's cultivation had been at the Martial Emperor realm when they had escaped from the Azure continent. Now, after a few years, her cultivation had reached the astonishing peak of the Supreme Saint realm. Xiangxiang, she's not even 15 years old. A few hours later, the aura on Lu Xiangxiang's body receded. She opened her eyes and stood up. A few years had passed, and Xiangxiang was already a slim and beautiful young lady. She was tall and beautiful, and she already had the potential to cause the downfall of cities and countries. Ha ha ha, not bad, Xiangxiang. I didn't expect you to break through so quickly and reach the peak of the Great Saint realm. Such an achievement is rare even in the entire Yuan Mountain. The skinny old man walked over and smiled. Thank you for the praise, Senior He Qian. Xiangxiang Bella bowed to the skinny old man. Chapter 1918, Taking Xiangxiang as a Disciple. Chapter 1918, taking Xiangxiang as a disciple? I'm speaking the truth, not a compliment. There are only a few people in the Yuan Mountain who can compare to your achievements. The skinny old man He Qian smiled and then changed the topic. Xiangxiang, what one said before about you acknowledging me as your master, have you considered it? Xiangxiang thanks senior for your kindness, but Xiangxiang already has a master. Without master's consent, Xiangxiang doesn't dare to take another person as a master. Xiangxiang Bella bowed politely and rejected the other party. He Qian's expression darkened. Xiangxiang, you have to consider this carefully. I'm a true emperor. What's your master's cultivation? Although my master's cultivation is not high now, Xiangxiang Bella believes that my master will definitely become a peak expert in this world in the future. Xiangxiang Bella said with a determined look in her eyes. In her heart, Lu Ming was the strongest. Although his cultivation level was not as high as He Qian's for the time being, he would surpass He Qian sooner or later. Silly girl, it's not that easy to become a top expert of the Yuan continent. Moreover, he can't even protect his own disciple. What achievements can he have? He might have already fallen by now. You're still young, don't be deceived by a few flowery words of others. He Qian said with a smile, thinking that Xiang had the temperament of a child and did not know anything. Xiangxiang Bella's face slightly sank as she said, Senior He Yan, you have saved Xiangxiang Bella, Grandpa Valley Master, and Martial Uncle Tian Chui. Xiangxiang Bella is grateful to you. However, please do not insult my master. Otherwise, Xiangxiang Bella will have to take her leave. Alright. One won't force you. You can take your time to think about it. However, you have to cultivate the 4 seasons technique that I'm going to teach you. It's very compatible with your physique and can stimulate your potential to a greater extent. Your talent is unparalleled, and I really don't want to see you being held back and wasting such talent. He Qian sighed, but no one saw the cold glint that flashed in the depths of his eyes. Alright. Xiangxiang Bella nodded her head, and only then did her expression look a little better. Xiangxiang, you and your martial uncle Tian Chui should go back first. I have something to discuss with Grandpa Valley Master. He Qian said with a smile. Okay. Goodbye, Senior He Qian. Goodbye, Grandpa Valley Master. Xiangxiang Bella obediently nodded her head. After saying goodbye to He Qian and Valley Master Ice Dragon, she and Tian Chui soared into the sky and left the place. As soon as Xiangxiang Bella and Tian Chui left, He Xiao's face darkened. He coldly looked at Ice Dragon Valley Master, and a terrifying aura pressed down on him. And NBSP, Ice Dragon Valley Master's body trembled, and he couldn't help but retreat, his face deathly pale. He Qian was a true emperor expert. In front of him, Ice Dragon Valley Master had no power to resist. I told you to persuade Xiangxiang to acknowledge me as her master, but it seems you didn't. He Qian said with a gloomy face. It's Xiangxiang's own choice who she wants to take as her master. What's the use of me persuading her? If she wanted to be your disciple, why would she need my advice? Valley Master Ice Dragon said. He Qian snorted coldly and said, then what if one told you to persuade Xiangxiang to cultivate the 4 seasons technique? Have you persuaded him? A strange light flashed in the eyes of Ice Dragon Valley Master as he stared at He Xiao and said, why do you insist on letting Xiangxiang cultivate the 4 seasons technique? You don't have to worry about this, just persuade her to cultivate. He Gao said. And NBSP, kill me. Ice Dragon Valley Master sneered, you can kill me. No matter what, one won't force Xiangxiang Bella to do anything she doesn't want to do. You want to court death? It's not that easy. He Qian said coldly, a cold light flashing through his eyes. Then, the Ice Dragon Valley Master's body began to tremble, as if he was suffering from endless pain. Roar! After a moment, even with Ice Dragon Valley Master's composure, he couldn't bear it anymore. A painful roar came out of his throat, and his gentle face was completely twisted by the pain. Roar! Roar! And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master kept growling, his entire body covered in cold sweat. He reached out with his claws, wanting to grab his body, but an invisible energy covered him, making it difficult for him to move. Soul-devouring insects can constantly tear your soul and make you suffer incomparable pain. It's 10 times or even 100 times more painful than the pain of your physical body. Enjoy it. He Qian coldly spoke. You. If Xiangxiang Bela were to find out that you are so despicable, I'm afraid that she would immediately leave, and NBSP, kill. Ice Dragon Valley Master roared. If she leaves, it will be the day of your death. He Qian said coldly. And NBSP, no. Ice Dragon Valley Master roared once more. He felt as if his soul was being continuously bitten by a type of insect, and endless pain drowned him. After a while, He Qian waved his hand, controlling the soul-devouring insects to stop their biting. Ice Dragon Valley Master's body fell limply to the ground, gasping for breath. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. I'll give you 2 more months to persuade Xiangxiang. Persuade her to take me as her master and cultivate the 4 seasons technique with me. Otherwise, you'll wish you were dead. Also, don't try to tell Xiangxiang, or you're seeking your own death. Otherwise, Xiangxiang and Tian Chui will both die. He Qian said coldly. Then, he took a step forward and disappeared. And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master took a few deep breaths, then sat down cross-legged and began to circulate his energy to recover. Half an hour later, he had finally recovered. He Yan, why are you so persistent in wanting Xiangxiang to cultivate the 4 seasons technique? This person is sinister and cunning. He definitely isn't doing this for Xiangxiang's good like he said. Now, what should we do? And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master frowned in thought. In front of Xiangxiang, He Qian always put on an affable appearance, but after Xiangxiang left, he would reveal his true face. He planted a soul-devouring insect in his body and threatened him to persuade Xiangxiang to be He Xiao's master. The master of Ice Dragon Valley would never allow Xiangxiang Bela to be He Xiao's disciple. However, this place was the He family. There were many experts in the He family. With his cultivation at the initial success stage of the Absolute Saint realm, any one of them could kill him. He wanted to take Xiangxiang and the others away, but he was completely powerless. If he was not careful, he might even implicate Xiangxiang and the others. He returned to his residence with a heavy heart. Their residence was a huge courtyard. There were experts guarding the courtyard, so not even a fly could fly out. Grandpa Valley Master, what did Senior He Qian say to you? The moment Ice Dragon Valley Master returned to the courtyard, he saw Xiangxiang Bela and asked curiously. Nothing much. I'm just asking Senior He Qian about Lu Ming and the rest's whereabouts. Ice Dragon Valley Master randomly found an excuse, and then his face darkened. Xiangxiang, you didn't cultivate the 4 seasons technique that He Yan gave you, right? Didn't Grandpa Valley Master tell me not to cultivate? That's why I didn't cultivate. Xiangxiang Bela shook her head and said. Remember, do not cultivate it. Just cultivate the cultivation technique that your master gave you. Ice Dragon Valley Master warned. Yes, Xiangxiang knows. Although Xiangxiang Bela was curious as to why Ice Dragon Valley's master would not allow her to cultivate the 4 seasons technique, she still obediently nodded her head. This was because she knew that Ice Dragon Valley's master would not harm her. Chapter 1919, He Qian's True Purpose. Chapter 1919, He Qian's True Purpose and NBSP. In the next few days, Ice Dragon Valley Master kept walking around the courtyard, observing the terrain and looking for flaws, trying to find a way to leave the He family. However, the He family was so powerful and had so many experts. Their spiritual senses covered every corner. It was impossible for him to leave the He family openly without alerting the people of the He family. On this day, Ice Dragon Valley Master arrived at another mansion. This is He Qian's mansion. And NBSP, what? Ice Dragon Valley Master was stunned and subconsciously retracted his aura. Then, he saw a middle-aged man walking through He Qian's door with two young women. Tell me, why do you think Elder He Qian would often call for people to send young women in? And you even taught them how to cultivate? There were two middle-aged men guarding the door. One of them said softly. Hearing this, Ice Dragon Valley Master's heart moved. He restrained his aura to the extreme and circulated his saint energy to his ears so that he could hear more clearly. I've heard some rumors. I'll tell you, but you can't spread it. The other guard said in a low voice. What news? The person from before revealed a curious expression. One heard that these women are Elder He Qian's cultivation vessels. After Elder He Qian transferred the improved Four Seasons cultivation method to these women, He Qian would visit them and devour their primordial yin to improve his cultivation base. One heard that Elder He Qian's tribulation is coming, but he's not confident that he can survive it. That's why he's using this method to raise his cultivation base so that he can resist the tribulation that happens once every 300,000 years. The person behind explained in a low voice. And NBSP hearing this, Ice Dragon Valley Master's heart trembled, and he felt cold sweat seep out of his back. He finally knew why He Qian had always wanted to take Xiangxiang as his disciple and wanted to pass on the Xiangxiang Four Seasons technique. Taking in a disciple was a lie. His real purpose was to let Xiangxiang cultivate He Xiao's Four Seasons technique. Xiangxiang Bella was a living being. If she had cultivated the Four Seasons technique that He Yan had given her, and her primordial yin was devoured by He Yan, it would definitely be of great help to him. This was He Qian's true purpose. And NBSP the Valley Master was terrified. Luckily, he felt that something was wrong and didn't let Xiangxiang cultivate the Four Seasons technique. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. He Qian, you old fogey, you're simply devoid of conscience. And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master gritted his teeth in worry. He had to find a way to escape. It was too dangerous to continue like this. If Xiangxiang didn't cultivate the Four Seasons technique, who knew if He Yan would use other shameless methods to force Xiangxiang? The Valley Master of Ice Dragon Valley returned to his courtyard, feeling uneasy. Grandpa Valley Master, what's wrong? Xiangxiang Bella saw that the Ice Dragon Valley Master was uneasy and asked in surprise. I'm fine. And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master shook his head. He couldn't tell Xiangxiang about this. If he told Xiangxiang, she would be angry and ask He Qian about it. He was afraid that He Qian would immediately turn hostile. He had to keep this matter to himself and plan in secret. Xiangxiang, you must not cultivate the Four Seasons technique. The Valley Master of Ice Dragon Valley reminded her again. Seeing Xiangxiang Bella obediently nod her head, the Valley Master of Ice Dragon Valley finally relaxed. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Xiangxiang, 2 days later, there will be a grand auction in Heavenly Emperor City. Let me bring you there to take a look. He Yan found Xiangxiang and showed a kind smile. Good. Xiangxiang Bella cheered. During this period of time, she had been cooped up in the He family's residence to cultivate and had long wanted to go out for a walk. I'll bring Xiangxiang out for a walk. He Qian said to Ice Dragon Valley Master and Tian Chui before walking out with Xiangxiang. And NBSP Ice Dragon Valley Master revealed a worried expression, but he was helpless. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute, Lu Ming also planned to go out. During this period, he had helped some people refine their spirit bodies and used up a large amount of saint herbs. Even the saint herbs that Huang Ling and the others brought were running out, so he planned to go out and buy some. Over the past year, the Han family had sent experts to guard the surroundings of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. As soon as Lu Ming went out, they would attack him. Lu Ming was not afraid of this. He had the divine breath technique, which could change his appearance and aura. With his current cultivation base, even a martial sovereign would not be able to recognize him if he stood in front of him. He didn't go out before because he didn't want to. If he wanted to, he could go out at any time. Lu Ming's appearance changed. He turned into a young man with a fair complexion. At the same time, he changed into a long white robe and held a folding fan. He instantly turned into an elegant young master. Even his aura was different from before. Lu Ming smiled and stepped on the air, flying towards the gate of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. Then, he swaggered out of the gate. Two martial supremes from the Hung family had been standing guard in the clouds outside the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. When they saw Lu Ming coming out, they scanned him with their spiritual senses. They did not find anything unusual, so they did not bother about him. The Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy gathered all the geniuses from all over the Yuan Mountain. There were young people entering and leaving every day. As expected, ordinary martial sovereigns can't tell. Lu Ming smiled and swaggered out of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. He arrived at a bustling place. Not long after he arrived, he heard that there would be a grand auction in the Heavenly Emperor City today. At that time, there would be many rare and precious treasures being auctioned. Even martial emperor powerhouses would attend. Lu Ming's interest was piqued and he walked towards the auction house. After paying a certain fee, he walked into the auction house. So many people. As soon as they entered the auction house, they were greeted by an extremely spacious hall. In the hall, countless figures had gathered. A rough estimate put there at least hundreds of thousands of people. Around the hall were rooms for distinguished guests. Of course, they were prepared for powerful people or people with prominent identities. Most of the people could only stay in the hall. Lu Ming randomly found a seat in the hall and sat down. As time passed, the number of people increased. An hour later, the auction began. The first auction item made Lu Ming's eyes widen. That was because it was a monarch weapon. Lu Ming sighed. This grand auction of the Heavenly Emperor City was indeed extraordinary. The first item to be auctioned was actually a sovereign weapon. Although Lu Ming was envious, the sovereign weapon's price was shocking. Moreover, a group of people were fighting for it. The price had risen to a terrifying level. Lu Ming could only look on and sigh. In the end, the sovereign weapon was bought by someone in the VIP room at a terrifyingly high price. It was probably a martial emperor. The auction continued, and the second item was far less valuable than the monarch weapon. This was only natural. There would be at least a few hundred treasures in an auction. It was impossible for every single one of them to be as valuable as a monarch weapon. But even so, the second item was a rare treasure. The bidding was intense, and one treasure after another was won. Lu Ming was envious of many of the treasures. Unfortunately, the prices were too high and he had to give up. He had bid for a few good sacred elixirs. Chapter 1920, Rock of Chaos. Chapter 1920, Rock of Chaos, the 120th treasure, a tear of life. On the auction stage, an old man who was hosting the auction announced. As soon as he said that, the entire place fell silent. Many people's eyes lit up. It's actually the tear of life. This is a rare treasure that contains endless vitality. Indeed, it can save lives at critical moments. Many people were discussing with fiery eyes. It's actually the tear of life. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as well. In the Divine Wilderness continent, he had once obtained the elixir of life and helped his father to heal his injuries, allowing him to embark on the path of martial arts again. After that, he even used the life potion to help the Nine Suns Supreme Master form a new body. Even his clone used the life potion. The tear of life and the water of life had the same magical effect, but their effects were completely different. Comparing the water of life to the tear of life was like comparing copper and iron to diamonds. He Qian and Lu Xiangxiang were in VIP room 6. Lu Xiangxiang's eyes lit up. She had a body of life, so the tear of life was very useful to her. It could greatly speed up her cultivation speed. Xiangxiang, you want to buy the tears of life? He Qian looked at Lu Xiangxiang and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yes, but Xiangxiang doesn't have that many raw gemstones. Let's forget it. Xiangxiang Bella nodded and said. Silly girl. If you don't have any raw stones, 111 give them to you. He Qian smiled. That won't do, I won't take a reward without any work. Xiangxiang Bella shook her head. Just take it as I'm lending it to you. You can pay me back in the future. Wait a moment, you can raise the price. He Qian said with a smile. And, that's good. Xiangxiang thanks Senior He Xiao first. Xiangxiang Bella cupped her fists towards He Yan gratefully. He Qian smiled and nodded, revealing a satisfied expression. This was the reason why he had brought Lu Xiangxiang out to attend the auction. He wanted to take the opportunity to get closer to her and increase her impression of him. When the time came, Lu Xiangxiang would be able to cultivate the 4 seasons technique smoothly. 1 tier of life. The starting price is 200,000 superior grade raw stones. The old man who was hosting the auction announced. 250,000. 300,000. Immediately, the price of the tear of life rose steadily, and soon reached a high price of 500,000. Lu Ming shook his head. Although the tears of life were precious, there was no need to spend such a high price to buy them. If Xiangxiang is here, I can buy it to help her cultivate. Lu Ming had an idea. At the thought of this, he sighed. He wondered how Xiangxiang and the rest were doing. Back then, Ice Dragon Valley's master had brought Xuaningxin, Tian Chui, and Xiangxiang Bella to escape. Later on, they had encountered danger, and Xuaningxin and Xiangxiang Bella had been separated. How were they now? However, the Yuan mountain was so vast, where could he go to find them? The price of the tear of life continued to rise, and it soon reached 800,000 superior grade raw stones. 1 million superior grade raw stones. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice was heard. Upon hearing this voice, Lu Ming's heart trembled. This is Xiangxiang's voice. Lu Ming could not help but look at VIP room number 6. Although Xiangxiang Bella's voice in his memory was more immature, and this voice was more mature and had some changes, Lu Ming could still tell that this voice was Xiangxiang Bella's voice. Why would Xiangxiang appear here? And in the VIP room, how was that possible? Could it be that I'm hearing things because I'm so eager to see you? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. 1,100,000. After the bidder from guest room number 6 called out the bid, the number of people who increased the bid decreased significantly. However, there were still people who increased the bid, and the price rose to 1 million. 1,200,000. In VIP room number 6, the clear voice sounded again. It's Xiangxiang, it's definitely Xiangxiang. Lu Ming was certain that this was Xiangxiang Bella's voice. As for why Xiangxiang Bella didn't recognize his voice, it was because he didn't use his original voice. Who knew if there were any Heng family experts here who could recognize his voice? Next, the tear of lives price rose to 1.5 million superior grade raw stones, and it was bought by Xiangxiang Bella. He Qian smiled slightly. 1.5 million superior grade raw stones were nothing to him, but it was worth it to win a good impression. The bidding continued, but Lu Ming seemed to be a little uneasy. He couldn't wait to go to VIP room number 6 immediately to see if it was really Xiangxiang. After all, there were people with similar voices in the world. However, the bidding was not over yet, so he could only wait. The bidding continued. Lu Ming was even less focused on the following bidding. He was constantly paying attention to the people in VIP room number 6. Auction item number 216 is a chaos gem. The voice of the old man who was hosting the auction rang out, causing Lu Ming to be in high spirits. There was actually a stone of chaos. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Not only him, but the eyes of the others were also shining. Chaos gems were born in the chaos before the creation of the world. They contained chaos chi and were rare treasures in the world. There was actually a bid for them in this auction. Everyone was staring at the old man with fiery eyes. The martial emperor powerhouses in all the guest rooms could not suppress their feelings and revealed greedy looks. If they could smelt the chaos gems into their small worlds, they would be able to make their small worlds more solid, more stable, and more powerful. But, at this moment, the old man slowly spoke again. However, for some reason, the chaos chi on this chaos gem has dried up. What? There's no more chaos chi? A chaos gem without chaos chi is just an ordinary stone. It's not of much use. I was excited for nothing. Many people shook their heads. Chaos gems were the most precious when they contained chaos chi. Without chaos chi, their value would drop by countless times. Lu Ming also revealed a look of pity. Everyone, even without the chi of chaos, the rock of chaos is still a rare material for smithing. It's extremely strong, and if it's used as the main material, it can be used to forge a monarch weapon. The old man in charge said again. Many people shook their heads. It was just a material for a monarch weapon and wasn't of much use. They might as well buy it directly. The emperor-level experts shook their heads. They had lost interest in the rock of chaos. One must get this chaos gem. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Although there was no chaos chi in the chaos gem, Lu Ming cultivated the chaos law. Even if the chaos gem did not have chaos chi, it might be useful to him. Alright, I'll start bidding now. The base price is 200,000 superior grade raw stones. The old host announced. 250,000. Someone immediately started bidding. Although the chaos gem did not have any chaos chi, it was still a rare treasure. Some people were curious and wanted to buy it to take a look. It would be good to keep it as a collection. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.